Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Testing Room, where three of the gaming industry's best video game consultants who have never actually consulted on a video game bring you new topics each and every week. As always, I'm Alex, aka the Godfather.
I'm Christian, aka Pseudo45.
I'm Preston, aka Funkadelic Jedi.
I don't know why you're laughing at me.
He's always laughing at you every episode.
I got in my head. I got in my head halfway through this because as I started, I went, to like get the energy behind to do it, and I go, man, these people, I'm sure, see me fake this energy every week as we kick things off and have to go, okay.
When you were just like, as always, I was like, all right, well, that's depressing.
Could change it up.
That's true, but we can't change it up because anytime we change it up, Preston, you fuck it up. We have to.
No,
I
meant like your
specific.
intro statement. If you want to change it up a little bit, seeing as how we don't do topics anymore, you could change the intro.
That's fair. We do topics sometimes.
You gotta do a new outro anyway, right?
I need to send that.
Okay, I was gonna say I was gonna wait for comment corner. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, I just need to send it, so we're good. We're good. Now that'll be a whole different story. We'll see.
We'll see when I send it.
But
2024 is looking like your year.
Fiscal testing room fiscal year 2024.
Yeah.
That's one less thing of audio I have to put in the podcast.
Oh man, I had something to say right as we kicked this off, and it completely lost me. So obviously, it was not that important, or it was a lie. One of the two. So
we'll figure it out in the middle of having another discussion, and then we'll stop there and derail. And that's what we do. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. So anyway, let's just hop right into comment corner.
Yeah. So one of the comments we already covered. I do have a comment from a fan, Mr. Jake, aka Odin, our DM. He sent me an image, said this would be a fun topic to cover. Let me go to his actual wording here because I was getting ready to send that to you, but give me a second. So there you go. Thought this might be fun to present during comment corner. But I won't be offended if you don't. Jake, if you send me a comment, we'll put it on comment corner. It's fine. I just have to remember it. That's the problem. But you sent it to me today, right before the podcast, so good on you. The catch is you guys should ignore any moral qualms you have with a company and base the question strictly on the games. And I'm sending you guys an image. And for the people at home listening who aren't watching YouTube, because in YouTube I'll have it up here, just send it to our group chat. And then this is an image. It has 4 squares. Each 4 of these squares represents a company. It says one developer has to go. So essentially, out of one of these 4 companies, this would be Bethesda, Rockstar, Naughty Dog, or Blizzard. Which one would you get rid of? Not based on any moral qualms or any shady doings the company has done, just based off the games alone, the library.
Okay, so it was Bethesda, Rockstar, Naughty Dog,
or Blizzard. And I did send a little image for you.
Yeah.
If you want
That's an easy one for me.
I think it's an easy one for me too. Yeah.
So
we'll
then
see
I'll
if
go
we're all
first.
the same. We'll no. We'll just
all
do
at the same time.
So,
Okay.
all at the same time. We'll see if we're right. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Naughty
Rockstar.
Dog.
I was gonna say Blizzard. Wow.
All right. Well, let's have this discussion.
Okay. All right. So I'll start here. I thought Naughty Dog originally. I will say that. The reason I didn't go Naughty Dog is because I enjoy their games, and I think if I look at the breadth of their games over the past 7-8 years, I've played more Naughty Dog. I just don't play that much Blizzard. That's it. When I think about it, and now to be fair, I don't play any Rockstar either. But I could see myself. I know what'll happen. The hype around GTA 6 will be big. I will look into trying it. I'll inevitably get offended by some stupid thing they think they're being funny doing, and I'll give it up like I did on 5. But yeah, I don't know. I would say Blizzard, but you're right, Christian. I've actually played less Rockstar than even Blizzard. At least I played Diablo. I haven't played I haven't played anything Rockstar since the beginning of 5.
If it was just the 4 squares, if it was just those 4 games, right? Then I think I would probably lean more towards Blizzard because I'd be like, whatever. There's none of those games in those squares that I care to play.
No, sure.
The same goes for Rockstar, though. I could go the rest of my life probably without playing another Rockstar game, and that includes revisit. Like those. If I were to go back, I don't know. Maybe we could do it for a video game book club one time, but going back and revisiting some of those, I have a sneaking suspicion that even ones that I liked with San Andreas, Vice City 3, just in general, even 4, I had some good memories of. Any of those games, if I were to go back and play them now, I do not think they would hold up for me, and I would immediately get bored and be like, no, I'm good, and I don't want to do this anymore. And so, at least in the catalog of Blizzard, like, I can say, which would be my runner-up for that, which would be, I can at least say that there's older games that they've done that I would not want to lose, right? So even something like...
Yes.
I just see a little...
He's like, I'm like, what do you want?
For the audio listeners, there's just, in the corner of Presses is just Teddy's big old face just staring right at the camera.
Bastard.
Popped right up in the corner.
Yeah, but so with Blizzard, at least like their back catalog of games, I would sooner revisit and play something even like Jesus, and this would be like you'd have to really get me in a bad spot, but I would sooner revisit WoW before I would revisit any Rockstar games. Easy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, but I did enjoy
Also, I love
my
that
time.
you say. I love that you say that you don't play that many Blizzard games, knowing full well that you have at least over 1,200 hours in a Blizzard game.
Oh, but like, how long ago? How long? You know what I mean? Like, it's not
for
not,
how long? It was what, 10 years that you played?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, but recently, that's what I'm saying, and like, I enjoyed my time with
But that's
Red
not
Dead.
what it's talking about. It's not talking about recently. Also, comparatively, you spent like 15 hours on Red Dead, completely shelved it, and never went back to it, and you played WoW for 1,200 hours for 10 years, and then shelved it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm still gonna stick with Blizzard.
You're fine.
Because I think I'm gonna stick with Blizzard for the potential of what could be. Like, maybe we'll all be shocked, and GTA 6 could be amazing. Game of the Year won't be, but I mean, it might actually win, because like that's just how the game industry and critics work. But I'm saying, to me, it won't be Game of the Year, but it could surprise us. And just Blizzard is not, as we talked about, they're not the same Blizzard that used to be.
But that's not the question.
No, the question is like the whole library, like be deleted from existence that never happened in your childhood. Like that part is gone.
Right. So it's not about what's coming out. It's as they are right now. If they get deleted forever,
Like
Which
out
one?
of existence.
yeah.
You know what? I'm just gonna stick to my guns. I'm fine with it.
That's you can. Yeah, I'm not
Could-
trying to.
Just an opinion.
Can't be Naughty Dog because
Yeah, dude, I'm not gonna not play Jack and Daxter games.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I
Jax.
know that, but yeah.
yeah, some of that's like, it's just not gonna happen if they do some of that
Yeah.
old IP. Like, no, it's fine.
I mean, I did choose Naughty Dog. I went by like full libraries of what I played, but like I enjoyed the Uncharted games. Like those are the ones I actually finished out of Naughty Dog's like resume. But like I got frustrated with Last of Us. I'm not a fan of stealth and spoopy games, so like I'm like, no, okay, like, this is I will admit it's an incredibly well written like game, at least for the first one, and I think it's incredible storytelling, like masterpiece kind of deal. But as far as like entire game libraries and what I would go for, like I mean, I spent a lot of time with the Grand Theft Auto games. Like I really liked 5. I know that's not like a huge like hot take. Like a lot of people like the multiplayer, but no one really cares about the story. I thought that was a fun romp. I played through it a couple times, and like just that world
was big
itself, I think, and
when it
that,
first
that
came out.
world and Red Dead's world, I think, are amazingly beautiful, incredibly well thought out and built worlds. Like I spent like a night just driving around, listening to the radio in Grand Theft Auto 5 on a ski-doo, just going around the coast because it looks so fucking gorgeous. And I'm like, this is just what I wanted to do tonight, because in real life that would be really cool, just to listen to the radio and fucking drive on a ski-doo around this fucking island. Like it was a really fun time.
I figured your choice was going to be Bethesda. If I'm honest, I thought you were going to pick Bethesda.
I really like the Doom games. Like, I mean, I'll enjoy first person.
They do. You know what? Fair enough.
shooters.
I forgot that's the because I will still always think of
Just id. Yeah.
as Doom, even though it is under the Bethesda umbrella now. But
No.
in my brain, I'm like, that's an id game.
And then
Bethesda has nothing to do
I
with it.
loved Fallout 3. Like Fallout 3 was fucking fantastic. I played that
It's a good
all the way
game.
through. I love that game.
New Vegas was incredible.
Yep, people love New
This is
Vegas.
one I still need to go play. I have it downloaded. Like I have the backwards compatible version. I still have never tried New Vegas. I want to go back to it someday.
I mean, a lot of people consider that the pinnacle of the series.
Yeah, which is hilarious because it's the one that's not made by Bethesda.
Yeah.
It's like, everybody, when it first came out, was like, oh, an expansion to 3. And it's just like, no, it's the best one of all of them. Like, oh.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going through Bethesda. I'm like, what else is that? I'm like, oh yeah, all the Elder Scrolls games. I wasn't a huge Elder Scrolls fan, but I beat Skyrim. I love Skyrim. The other ones just didn't vibe with me. But yeah, I mean, I think it's funny that no one even like wanted to talk about Bethesda. Like, no, that one's staying. Like, there's no way we're getting rid of Bethesda at all.
I'm not getting rid of Bethesda because of Morrowind.
Yeah, I was gonna say Elder Scrolls. Shit's not happening. But yeah,
Too much. We're
Which I know Jake and I
like
are
we're fans of fantasy, and there's too much fantasy lore there to get rid of Bethesda games.
and StarCraft is just like, you'll never get rid of Blizzard from me. Like, I mean, that's
what I'm
a
saying,
huge
is
part of my
like-
childhood. Like, yeah, Christian with Diablo 2,
Yeah.
it's like, that's such a huge chunk. Like, even just that one game alone, like, okay, no. I also liked Rock and Roll Racing. Rock and Roll Racing was a lot of fun when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Probably doesn't hold up now.
I really used to enjoy before the remakes killed it. I loved Grand Theft Auto 3. It was my fave, and I enjoyed 5 at first when it came out. I was never a fan. Here's the thing about
Not a Vice City San Andreas person.
No, I loved Vice City. San Andreas wasn't as much for me, but Vice City was my jam. Here's the thing about Rockstar, and I think moving forward, this doesn't have as much to do with the topic, just commentary on them. I think the awe factor that used to be like in their quote unquote heyday of the PS2 area, when you had 3 Vice City, when you had San Andreas, you had Bully, you had Manhunt, and some others. The awe was almost that Mortal Kombat 1 awe of like, look at the shocking things you can do.
Shock
and
factor.
I think that awe has worn off.
Well, it's also
So-
it's the technology leaps too, right? So like Final Fantasy skirted by a lot of times on that stuff too, where they would put like a really gorgeous FMV cutscene in, and everyone would go, "This is it. This is what I'm here for." And Rockstar had the same thing, right? Like, it's just budget. Like, it's how much money can we throw behind it? But we, even to that end, Alex, I think your point still stands of we're plateauing. Like, you know, games look as good as games are going to look. Like,
You can get smaller things
And-
better, like
and
ray
I
tracing.
you can do smaller things with lighting
And
and,
I could
all
be-
these and all the small things, but it's still going to, I mean, like, games have
And
looked
I could
good
be
for a
wrong.
long time now.
When I look at their whole library, like Grand Theft Auto 6 has its own place because it is as Preston said, it's a fully fleshed out world where you can do so much with, especially if you return to Vice City, and that's what they did with Red Dead. But if you take a game like Bully and especially Manhunt, if you redo those games now, I don't think they age as well. I don't
Probably
think
not.
there's an appetite for
I don't think any of their games
in
age
culture.
that well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
Or
like, the
story-wise,
concept, right?
yeah.
Like, I don't know that there's a big appetite right now for people in our society and culture to just, like, walk around strangling people with plastic bags. Like, it's not a thing that's there.
Oh, well,
Manhunt was never
Manhunt's
a
a
game that I
different
enjoyed
scenario.
anyway.
No one, there's a
But-
very
but
few
that
people
was-
who love that game.
It was, but I mean, like, that, and Bully, I mean, say, like, that was kind of their thing, like, these revenge stories and, like, a little overly brutal and violent and stuff, and I just think that's worn off a bit.
I
Like, the
always
appetite
try
for
to
stuff.
think
So,
of
no.
in the situation. I'm like a desert island, right? Like what kind of game? Like what I want. And the idea of a desert island, I bring up what is at its core an open world collectathon game. I would blow my fucking brains out. Like, oh cool, I'll sit here and toil away at a checklist. Like,
You know me, I'm down for those.
Yeah,
It
he's
depends on the game, though. If you
I-
give me a solid Witcher, I'm down. If you expect me to replay through Tokyo Ghostwire Tokyo or whatever, yeah, I'm walking in the water getting eaten by sharks.
that's what I'm saying. Like it's just I can't like in a situation in which I'd want to be removed and be like I will pretend like I'm somewhere else. The idea of a checklist being like that'll be the thing that does it for me. I can't get there. I'm good.
In other news of desert island video games, if anybody follows gaming news, somebody asked Yoshi P, "Hey, well, you do a lot of collabs with other games in your game with Final Fantasy. Have you ever thought about actually like putting other Final Fantasy games in your game?" And he said, "I would love to put old games in your house as playable games." And I just want everyone to know, if they're able to put old games on like cabinet consoles that I can access from my apartment in that game, I'll never play another video game again. This will officially become the Final Fantasy XIV Alex podcast. Like, that's all I will ever talk about.
He has said multiple times that he will work on this game until he dies, and then this last one he goes, I will work on this game till I die. And he goes, and maybe after. So. Yeah.
If you take
anybody
all the
can make it happen,
has,
it's somebody with that level of dedication.
If you take all the content this game has and then add like 35 years worth of other games inside of that game that you can access whenever you want, like, what am I gonna play? What do I need? I did have a little fun comment for this. I was gonna see if anybody saw it. I found it to be really fun news. I didn't share it in the group, but somebody in the gaming community did what many considered an impossible feat yesterday or the day before. They beat Hades with a heat of 64, the maximum heat with no mods. And it's the first person to ever do it after 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you can go outside and touch grass now.
It's pretty impressive. I mean, that's insane. Look, that game deserves all the love that it gets, and who knows how long it took that person, but good for them. I'm assuming it's the only game.
It's the only honestly, game. My actual take is, good for you. If you got your enjoyment out of it and you're being happy, then knock yourself out.
Yeah, you also are not allowed to say too much, Mr. I'm about to beat every Trails game in under 2 years, which is 600 and something hours worth of content.
So that's not the same thing, because it's multiple games that I'm playing that are through a story.
Sure, but each run in that is a different run, so you could say that each one of those is a different game too.
It's not. Nope. Yeah, you can't.
Saying.
No, you cannot.
Just saying. Don't judge others for what they enjoy. Is all that
I didn't. I said I was happy for the person.
You said it sarcastically, though.
I didn't. I said that was my actual take. Was that I had.
Preston even gave you them.
You told me. Finally touch grass.
Yeah, that's a little sarcastic.
Yeah, that was the joke. That was the sarcastic part. Whatever, I'm not doing this.
So, all right. Do we have anything else, Preston?
Nope, no comments. Just don't forget to send me the new outro, please.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see when we get it. So, let's get into our weeks. I'll start this week because I haven't started in a while, and I don't know that I have that much.
You say this every time.
I think I've only played 2 games. I've played 14, and I have played the game we're going to talk about in our thing tonight. And I have many thoughts on that game. It's interesting, but we'll talk about it.
First of all, how dare you?
So we'll get there. The only thing I'll say is it wasn't as scary so far as I thought it was going to be, and don't be too proud of yourself, though. It's mostly because of how dated it can feel. If this was modern graphics, or if I was back then playing it, I'd be out, fam. Like, I would be out.
Oh, stop. It is not that bad.
We'll see. So, I think that's the only 2 things that I've played. I have not caught up on any shows. I have not watched the entirety of part 2 of The Witcher, which I hear is not long. 3 whole episodes.
I'll mention it in my week.
Which makes you go, why? But yeah, that's all that I've done.
Said the same thing after I watched it.
It's because you're too stupid to understand it, so.
My dumb American brain just can't handle it.
Here's the only thing. Preston, have you finished it, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure
So
did.
the only thing I want to know, they said... And now, I have not done all the books. I have done 4 out of the 7.
I've done 0 books, and I just finished Witcher 3 last year, or this year.
But they said that the switch from Cavill's Geralt to the Hemsworth brother will be good and accurate to the lore. And I don't know what that means. So my question to you is...
It never happens.
I was going to ask, does it happen in the season? Or is it just going to be... Okay.
Hard cut. Nice.
Just Geralt walking away with some peoples, and I guess it's just going to happen at the beginning of next season.
Okay.
No reasoning. Nothing at the end that says, oh, we're going to set it off. This is what's happening. This is why. No. Nothing happens.
He's just not going to be there. Okay. So maybe when they say
It's
lore
good
accurate,
change.
they're just going to replace him and not mention it and be like, it's the same Geralt. What are you guys talking about?
I don't care at this point. Honestly, I don't. Unless someone comes by and is like, yo, this season 4 fucking pops off and does really well, I might come back to it. But other than that, no. I'm not wasting my fucking time with this
I
show
can
again.
almost guarantee no one's gonna say that.
You know
Yeah.
what Netflix show I'm unreasonably excited for? The live action of One Piece. I have zero faith that Netflix
Zero
might
faith.
do it properly, but it looks real good. The trailers look
There is
super
Guess what?
good.
no
You know what looked really
way
good?
that-
Cowboy Bebop trailer.
You know,
That's
the
true.
trailer. I
That's
will.
true.
They nailed
Cowboy-
the trailer.
They nailed the trailer.
Nailed the trailer.
They do really
Yeah, it
good
looks
trailers,
good.
man.
That live action intro still goes hard. I will
Yeah,
say
I mean,
that
you
live
can't beat
action
it.
intro still
Can't
goes
fucking
hard.
beat it, man.
Yep.
Not with a wiffle ball bat.
I don't think there's no way in hell that Netflix is going to adapt this correctly, but also this is somebody who has not watched a single second of One Piece. So I'm just saying
Same. But that's why
A
I think the
show
live action
that
looks good, 'cause
has-
I have no expectations.
over like 1,800 episodes and counting. It's not going to do
Why?
it unless it's just not going to happen. Like
They're going to do their own take,
I
and
don't-
it's going to be really shitty.
I don't know what you plan on doing,
do.
but it's not going to be what people want. It's not going to happen. Like
Death Note sucked. Cowboy Bebop sucked.
Yeah.
They had a Full Metal Alchemist one. That
Which
wasn't great.
Death Note? Because there was
The
a
live
Japanese
action.
Live action.
But what? There was a
no,
live
English
action
one.
Japanese Death
English
Note.
one.
Yeah.
no,
Oh.
they're both bad.
I did
watched
not
the
watch
English
the.
one.
I did not watch the English one. I was
did.
smart on that one. I didn't watch the Japanese one. You know
I like-
what?
Which is
The
also, but
Japanese
also
one-
bad.
The Japanese live action was terrible. However, the actual Oni looked cool. Looked kind of cool.
Sure,
when
he
you saw him.
looks kind of cool in the other
Like,
Netflix one too.
Puppet-
but it's just
the
bad
puppet they
story,
did, the
man.
makeup looked good. It was not great though.
They did CG. And was it William Dafoe? I don't know if it was William Dafoe. It should have
Oh,
been William Dafoe.
It was.
It was, that's right, yeah.
It
It
was
was.
Willem Dafoe.
I
Yeah.
do remember that. I watched the first episode because I
watched
do
the whole
remember when they
thing.
showed him.
So I
He
like
had
the
the
show.
kind of the cat night eyes, like the way they reflect
Yeah.
in the light, and then you're right. I do remember that.
And I heard he was good.
He was
as
good.
Ryuk.
It's the only real good part of the show, honestly.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I can remember. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Preston, when you watched it, did they bring back Maximum Hormone for one of the intros?
I didn't know about Maximum Hormone then, so I couldn't tell you. I have to look it up.
Oh,
Good day.
if they didn't, fuck them.
I highly doubt they did, but
I know they probably didn't.
I would have seen it on my phone when I was playing Maximum Hormone stuff. I probably would have shown something for Netflix.
Yeah,
soundtrack.
they did the intro for the back half
they?
of Death Note.
That's
yeah,
dope. Now I want to watch it again. Now that I know,
it's a good show.
it's a great show.
That is an anime that I've watched all the way through, but
It's short.
I think
Yeah,
that's
it's not
one
long.
Allie watched with me, and she actually enjoyed. Typically, she doesn't enjoy anime. It's not that she has anything against it, but she's just like, it's so. You got to lean into it, right? Like you got to lean into anime because this is what it is, and a lot of times she just doesn't, so you lose interest. But she actually liked Death Note.
Death Note was one of the ones that it just took me forever to get to. I didn't watch it until I knew you guys. Like I lived in St. Louis when I was watching it for the first time, and somebody that we know between the three of us spoiled it for me.
Oh,
And I think deep down, I don't think I've ever forgiven that person for doing that to me.
shitty.
That's fair.
Yeah. That and among other things, but that's
No, I'll say yeah. It's one.
Oh.
One on the
yeah.
tally for many.
Yeah. You could just never mind.
No.
Anyway,
Yep. No.
Preston,
no.
how was your week?
Moving on,
How
indeed.
was your week?
We've been busy. More snapping, doing better on Snap. I'm getting into, I'm almost 90 rank again, so getting back to that 90 rank. But I don't think I'm gonna get infinite by the end of the, because I got like 4 or 5 days now, so I don't think I'm gonna get infinite by then. If I was in 90 this past week, I would have been feeling good about it. But Lockjaw's been doing good for me. I can't wait to see how he does next season. They had a official tournament, which was not really a tournament. It was more like a speed run kind of contest, if you will. So they gave, I think it was a couple hours. Like the first couple hours, there's like, you got one winner there, and then the winner of that, whoever voted for that winner, because you have to vote for one person, they got a special variant for Spectrum, which is a really cool variant. If you just vote, you get like a nice amount of credits, which is cool. That went, and it was definitely their first competition or first official thing. Audio wasn't the greatest on Twitch, and they did not know who the winner was until the next day, or didn't have it posted. No one knew who the winner was. So no one was paying attention or keeping tally of like what everyone's time was. Everyone's playing all at the same time. And what it is you play a conquest. You have to play through the infinite rank conquest. You have to get 5 wins of conquest in a row. Some of those times that people got for that were around an hour. Because that's how long it could take. Because you're going through there, you're doing all 5 of those, multiple turns, multiple games within those ladders for those 5 wins. So it took a while. I think that the person who won ended up doing it within like 30 something minutes, and like there was a time difference of like maybe 20 seconds, which is crazy. Like one guy was just like snapping at every turn. He's like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna play like a fucking Galactus deck, and we're gonna snap at the beginning of every turn. He's like, let's just do this, we're at the very end of this hour mark, like for funsies, let's just snap it. And he won, and like he got like really close to it was like between him and another person, Binks and Dara, and no one knew who won because it was so fucking close. Like they're like, I don't know how they're gonna judge it. They're taking away wait times for each turn or each game, but if we're doing our math, like we're both pretty much right at the same time. So we got to see what they say, and it ended up being Dara. The person I played did not win. They got like an hour, I think, for their win. And there's some people who didn't even win at all, like through those hours, and like they're given, I think, a full day, maybe like a full 2 days, I think, to where it was just, yeah, if you didn't get in a full conquest, like you were still on there, but. I feel bad, man. But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun thing to see happen. I played a little bit of an older game, one of my top games of last year. Christian was playing EDF with some friends, and I was kind of sitting there on Discord. I'm like, I just want to play something mindless, just kind of hang out and chill out. I'm like, don't want to boot up Diablo again. Street Fighter's upsetting me. Like, what do I want to play right now?
Hey, can I ask, why is Street Fighter upsetting you? I watched some rounds the other day.
So I was doing story mode, and you get to a point, I'm like chapter 11, to where there's this cardboard guy who's wearing a cardboard mask kind of thing, and he's like glowing with like purple power. And he is just pushing my shit in. Like some of his hits that he does like do like half of my health, and I'm just not doing well at it. I'm doing it over and over again, beating my head against the wall, I feel. And for me to finish him, because he has super powered punches and moves, and then his like health, like any hits I do to him, any type of move I do to him is like just like chip damage on his health. So it's taking a while. I have to get him into a corner, do some dumb shit moves that are kind of just like chipping away at him, and that's how I would beat him. Like I got him once on one match, but then could have full match on him. And I keep going back every day or so. There's like, let's just play a couple matches with them, and I keep getting it happening to me. I'm like, you know what? It's getting to a point to where I think I might just walk away from this. Because it's just, I'm not having a great time. I got to go and maybe I'll buy a whole bunch of health and I can just get past it, because you can heal yourself in the matches on story mode. So I can go and try to find those little energy drinks to get and just buy a whole bunch of those and maybe do it. Which is probably what I'll end up doing if I want to see the finish. But it's kind of disappointing that I can't just play it and use my skill. Because everyone else I face that's around that era, they don't have those modifiers. So around that level, I do just fine.
You can do a thing where you can call in like help too, right? Like you can
Not with
like
this guy.
call in.
Well, no, you can. You can't call in this guy, but you know what? Guess what? I call in anyone, and their shit gets wrecked too. Because the modifier goes against them, so they're getting hit harder, faster, and they're not doing a whole lot of damage to him. Because I remember calling in Candy at one point, and she just was getting juggled. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Vicious.
I don't know.
It's hard. And don't even talk to me about refrigerators. Christian, when you get to it, there's some enemies in there that are just straight up refrigerators. They block all your moves until they open up their little door. And any moves you do to them, they'll do a counter attack to you. So you're not getting any hits, you're not getting any damage in, and then they hit you real hard. Well, if you got more than one of those guys, it's a huge pain in the fucking ass. So there's a lot of things as a single player I'm not a big fan of, as far as like fighting multiple enemies and some of those enemies being, I think, just a bad idea altogether. Not having fun. But you know, like I said, I might just buy a whole bunch of health and do it. But the game I did end up playing, I'm like, you know what? Still installed. Let's boot up Vampire Survivors. I haven't played it. There's been a bunch of updates. Let's fuck around, jump in. Fucking phenomenal.
There's like straight up there's multiplayer in there now too.
There's multiplayer, all sorts of fun shit in there. Mm-hmm. And like now they got like new like chests in there to where like instead of getting like just like 1 or 2, like you can get like 5. And like the song that happens, if you haven't seen it, like the chest happens, like it opens up, like there's like rainbows coming out of it, like it's doing the whole dun 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 dun, like whole music and everything. for the ones that get the bigger amounts of items and the better items, like all of a sudden that song is just longer. So you're just waiting for that song to go, and it keeps on getting like, oh, I'm gonna get a big chest because it's still going, and you get a whole bunch of cool shit. It just I played it for a little bit while he was playing EDF, and it was just phenomenal. I'm like, God, I miss this game so much. I'm like, okay, well, at least I don't have to feel bad about, I have to play Diablo. No, just boot Vampire Survivors. They'll feel fine.
Multiplayer Street Fighter is still good, though.
Multiplayer Street Fighter is fantastic. I've got some matches in with a friend of other Discord that we're in, and yeah, it's a fun time. I had a good time with it. He was actually able to do some drive rushes, which I've now figured out how to do. I just can't implement them very well right now because I just figured out how to do them. But yeah, it's fun. And I have started up, not really started up, I started back up my subscription to Final Fantasy XIV. I've mapped out my monk's abilities to be a controller so I can play it on the PlayStation now, because you don't have to play PlayStation Plus to be able to play that game because you already pay a subscription. So I got that in there. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, we'll get all the buttons done, everything like that, and then I'm going to go outside, walk Ted real quick, and then I'm going to come back in here and play it. When I went outside to walk Ted, I noticed I had my GameFly arrived. So now Final Fantasy 16 is also in my PlayStation, which I am now playing and having a hell of a time with. So Final Fantasy 14, I'm going to feel bad because I'm like, I just paid for a subscription. I'm not going to play it. I might play it here and there, but I'm going to focus on Final Fantasy 16 now because that is a phenomenal game. It feels good. But it's there. It's ready. I got the buttons mapped out just perfectly fine for my monk. So I'm ready to play it on my PlayStation. It's going to feel good.
I told Christian I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah. Now you got
these new
3 people in now?
announcements.
Yeah.
Yeah. Allie is going to start playing again. We have a friend of the show, Travis, has started up, and he's at level 20-ish right now.
Guest host of the podcast.
And one of his buddies his co-host of Nerds with Mics is big into Final Fantasy 14 and has like high-level characters and does in-game content. So like,
just doesn't play with you.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Not yet because we don't know him, but like when we get Travis to level, right?
Really quick, did you confirm, is Travis still playing as a Lalafell?
He is not a Lalafell. He changed it. Which, I'm
Potato
very
Man.
happy about. But here's this weird thing I've noticed, because I've been in a lot of games with Sprouts recently. So for people who aren't familiar, Sprouts are literally what you call new people because they get a Sprout, like a literal Sprout emblem above their head.
It just says,
So
hey,
you know
I'm learning. Yeah.
Yep, like, hey, don't yell at me if I do something wrong. But many of them, I would say a good 90% of them I see in like Limsa Laminsa or in a dungeon or whatever. They're all Lalafells. I don't know what the trend of Lalafells are right now, but our server is getting a shorter average height day by day.
Yes.
And it's weird too, like a lot of them have been making their size of Lalafell like as small as possible, so they run around and they're all like the size of their minions.
So if you're gonna be small, you might as well be small.
Well, so I did find out technically. I did find out that apparently Lalafells are the best for Savage and Extreme and Ultimate content because their hitboxes fall small, that they can pull off. Being that. But I ask you, is being a child predator really worth it? Is it really worth it?
No.
Do you want to be a potato?
If you're asking me, yes, I believe that all LFL players are child predators. There's just nothing
Jesus.
to change my mind.
I wouldn't say all, but whenever I see one run by like a really short skirt for no reason or like just undergarments, you're like, what are we doing here, guys?
Why else would you play the child?
Yeah.
It's just weird, man.
Yeah, all.
But no, he's not a Lalafell. So as of now, I don't believe we have any Lalafells. We have one bunny girl, but I think that's okay. Yeah,
she's badass.
Because we don't have to deal with the harassment he does.
Yeah.
I can take it. Zoe ain't got shame in her game. But yeah, I love the Final Fantasy 14, Final Fantasy 16. It's a great game. We talked about it plenty here. I won't go too much into it. I will say that I've been told this, and you guys told us this on the podcast, but seeing those 2D sprites when you go to save your game or go to the menu, it just does something for you. It just fucking hits you a certain way. Like, it's... Like, you guys told me, I'm like, oh, that's a fun little kind of thing. I'm like, man, like, when you see them, it just fucking hits you a certain way. I'm like, God, that's great. That's fucking fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I'll also say, all the menus, interfaces, everything like that, fucking crisp and clean. It's not overwhelming. There's not too much going on. It is perfect fucking
Yep,
perfect.
it's really good.
It feels great.
Just
Feels great to play.
12 point font, but otherwise it's fantastic.
It's very tiny font. That's okay. I got a big TV. Other than that, more Jedi Outcast on the Wednesdays, on Star Wars Wednesdays. We got our lightsaber the other night and rescued Billy D. Williams from a prison. It's a good time. There is more platforming to be had, which is not fun. Okay,
Which
so
is what you want in these games.
dude, this last level, like I did the editing today, so it wasn't as bad as I remember it. But it felt like it took forever when I played it last night or the other night. Last night, actually, yeah.
Last night we were watching it last night.
Oh, yeah. So you saw that city I was in. It's kind of like looking like a dark Coruscant kind of area. It wants you to jump on like bridges and go around. You got snipers all over the place, which are deadly fucking accurate. That will get you like on the corner. Like you can't see him, but he probably sees your shoulder just like you can see their shoulder sometimes, and he's sniping you like that. Like it's some bullshit. There was plenty of times where I'm like, where are you shooting me from? And it's this bridge like all the way up here to where this like Rodian is like looking down at me like that, and I see his like forehead. That's all I see, but somehow he's shooting me. Like it's some horse shit.
He's got the high ground.
True.
Damn it. It's you're not wrong. When you're right, you're right. Okay. But yeah, playing that with the lightsaber. Lightsaber's fantastic. Christian, you asked me what happens in first person. Guess what? You still got first person lightsaber, but your kind of hand kind of does this thing, and like right here kind of goes invisible. So it's just like this like bodiless arms kind of doing this thing, and your camera doesn't swing around when you spin around and stuff like that. So that's nice.
The Morrowind
like
and Oblivion combat, where you're just like,
yeah. But on the outside, your character's doing all these cool moves and spinning around.
Yeah.
I forgot there's wall running in this game. There's a whole bunch of fun stuff. But yeah, it's I'm really glad I watched those YouTube videos beforehand, because boy, are some of those puzzles just like no hints or clues given. Like I was even having a hard time. Like I watched the video, but I didn't pay attention to this one small spot, and it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? Like that looks like a lever. That's not a lever I can use. Oh, you want me to throw a lightsaber at this pipe that I never throw lightsabers at to stop electricity in this water? And then you want me to pull a bridge towards me, but I can't pull a bridge towards me until I walk all the way over there and don't know it's a bridge until I get close enough to it to where the reticle turns blue. Then you know you can use your force power on something. I'm like,
yikes.
Mother of God. I'm like, yeah.
I don't want to.
That's why we watch the
I don't want to
YouTubes
be this guy, but I'm gonna give you a kids today statement. But kids today do not understand the difficulty that was 90s games.
So that's why I never beat these games.
Because you had to get a lot of time out of it. Yeah, you had to get a lot of time out of it, right? So like they did not help you out.
Once you play that for a while.
The reason that you didn't get a lot of time out of it wasn't because, or the reason that they did that was not because they wanted people to get a lot of time out of it. It was because there was no compliance department. So it was just, it was just people being bad at design. Like they were like,
they're pro gamers could be
we know that there's a bridge there to pull out because I designed it. So people will be able to figure it out just
it's
as
a beatable
easy as
game.
I put it in.
You just got to figure it out.
Like you don't. That's not
get good.
Yeah, but that's why they would always include. They realized very quickly that
the yellow
people
paint
would not be able. And so,
markers,
not even just that. It was just they would include phone numbers for you to call to be like, "Yo, what am I fucking supposed to do here?" And someone's like, "Oh, you have to go do this," and you're like, oh, "Okay."
Then your mom asks you why you got an $80 charge on your phone bill.
Exactly. Yeah.
Allie was
Japan in the middle of the night.
She was watching his last game, the last Dark Forces game he was playing, and he hit like a switch, and she's watching it. She's like, "Oh, there's a switch over there," and like. It's not. It's just, the wall looks the same all over the place. And she's like, how can you tell? And I was like, 90s games, man. You just click every corner of the wall.
Every door you see,
you will find what
you gotta press control on every door you see because there's no way of telling if it's locked unless there's a red light above it. And then then you're like, maybe that's just aesthetic. And you go up to that door anyways, and it's like, no. It goes bump, bump. Yeah. And like, okay, I can't open this door. Cool. Walk to the next door.
Compliance was not a thing, so it was very easy. Even older, like, because, people always, I love when people say that, where they're like, back when the day when they used to ship complete games, and you're like, okay, like, yeah, they were complete in the sense that they wouldn't get patches, but they were just as full of bugs as any other games nowadays. But you would have this moment where, like, games, there are so many situations in older games where you can just soft lock or hard lock yourself, and you're just like, oh, okay, this save file's done. It's corrupted completely. Mm-hmm. I have to delete it. I have no option, and I have to start completely over because I did something. I sequence broke it in a weird way, and I fucked it completely. And there's nothing anybody can do to help me.
There's like a Metroid game that you actually had to send in to get like an update on your cart.
Yep.
Because it was fucking that broken.
I don't remember which one that was.
It could just
just
be Aladdin or Lion King, where even today, when they've given you a rewind feature, half of those levels are still impossible.
That's why they give you level skip.
Jumps can't.
There's that, or you can just do a. There's some in the rare replay thing where it's like, just press this button for unlimited lives, and you're like,
Yeah. All those replay games, all those like redone games for those older ones are like, we're giving you all you need to. Just go enjoy the game. Like, don't get as mad at it and get mad at us. Just here you go. We didn't make this game.
We didn't fix it. Just so you know, we didn't fix it. No. We're just giving you more time.
Because arcade games like that were a whole other thing where that was the insidious design that you're thinking of, Alex, which is I'm making this game I'm designing in a way that will cost you more quarters. Sure. Like, I want you to spend a shit ton of money on this game, so I'm going to make it unfair and stupid. Yeah.
Anyway, as we've devolved down your latest Dark Forces game.
One last game I played, I promise. This is the one we talked about last episode that I did not play yet, but I downloaded the demo for, Whisker Squadron. That is the Star Fox-like by the people who made Race the Sun, which is a great game. I booted it up, and at first you're playing the tutorial. It looks good, and you're going through it, and it seems kind of simple at first. You're like, okay, this tutorial is kind of telling you how to move around. You're shooting like one guy. I'm like, okay, this is fine. This is all right. And the second level hits, and then it's just like bullet hell, lasers everywhere. Like, there's like one guy who's actually dropping walls in front of you, like as he's moving around. So you got to get him first, and like it's just, I'm like, this game's gonna be fucking fantastic. I cannot wait for this game to come out. I think it's like in a month or so. I think it's in September, maybe
September,
or this
October,
month. Yeah. But it's gonna be a good game.
I'm happy for you, man.
Fucking, I'm so excited. So stoked.
If Nintendo won't do it, somebody else will.
Jake,
honestly, a bunch of people Preston's age grew up not getting any Nintendo love, and we're just like, F it, we'll do it ourselves.
They did. They did really well. And like, as soon as they said like people from Race the Sun, I'm like, ooh, that forward like linear kind of like gameplay. I'm like, they did really well with that. I
lost so much time.
Now you just add like enemies and like missiles and stuff like that, and it's kind of like a because you do have like missions, like you will finish off a level. But like as you're doing it, like as you're leveling up, it gives you that whole kind of like Hades kind of deal, or that like like roguelike or whatever, to where it's like pick one out of these 3 upgrades. Like, do you want faster respawn missiles? Do you want better blaster fire? Do you want to go a little faster with your boosties? Things like that nature. And it's a good game. It's a good game. Fun game with little cat people, little cat pilots.
I gotta go back to the episode of this podcast that we recorded where I was explaining to you this game.
You did. I remember you saying that, and I thought it was a part of that one fest where the demo's gone, so I didn't play it. And I was waiting. I
wish we were doing video back then, because it's clear that your eyes would have just completely glazed over, and you'd been like, Christian, just like, I'd have been like an adult from Charlie Brown, just going like wah 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 wah, because you were just like, whatever.
Well, it's the kind of same thing to like every time you hear like there's like a spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio, and it comes out and it's like, this is kind of garbage. Like, it's not good. So it's like every time you see it, you're like, I don't know if I'll believe it when I play it kind of deal when it comes to like a Jet Set like game. And now that you know who's making the next one, you know that's in good hands. So you're a little more excited than you were with like Hover. That I don't know if you played, but I did, and it was not good.
I did not. No.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's those spiritual remakes are always hit and miss, because I feel like I remember a Castlevania spiritual remake that didn't do so well, and there was one that was like, was it a Beautiful Joe, or like there was a Mega Man one that like
Mighty Number 9 or something like that.
And that was just from the guy.
Yeah,
like,
that's from the actual person. Yeah,
that was from Keiji Inafune, and it was bad. Yeah.
They're always hit and miss when you hear spiritual successors.
Yeah, so that's probably why my eyes are glazed over. But then I saw something about it, and it looks really good. So.
Saw something about it. All it took was Alex resending something Christian sent a month ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there you go. In the message, like, did I tell you about this? Like, yeah, but you didn't say anything about it, so I'm assuming it wasn't the thing that you said.
You showed him.
I even told you. And he didn't remember
that I sent it back.
Down to the upgrade mechanic, I described it to you. So right now, when you're describing this upgrade mechanic, I'm like, it's literally what I said.
I was interested, but I didn't think the demo was available for me. So I thought it was a gone with the fest. So really not. But it's cool. Amazing. Great. It's good. That's my week.
I did pretty cool. I did my own research and found a pretty cool game to try out, and I can't wait to share it with you
You guys hear about this game? Like, yes, we told you about it about a year ago. Good job.
I know, yeah. Like 2 months from now, he's gonna be like, "Dude, have you guys ever heard of Whisker Squadron? I just beat it. Might be my game of the year."
Yo, guys, you heard there's a Final Fantasy 14. It's fucking wicked awesome.
Which will be fucking hilarious because I sent the words, "Hey, I found Preston's new Game of the Year game." When he saw it 2 weeks ago.
Could, maybe. Who knows? I doubt it, but who knows?
Anyway.
But yeah, other than that, shows. I'm going to the last season The Expanse. Didn't realize it was this short. I got 2 episodes left. Very curious to see how it ends because I don't think I'm going to feel super great about it because it's a very short season and shit's popping off at the very end. So we'll see what happens. I got like 2 episodes left. But I'm super excited to play the Telltale game now that I'm finishing it up, which is out now. It's like $40.
I think I was fine with the way that it ended, so it wasn't a letdown. But there are still like I feel like there are still questions. Yeah, I would like more. I would like more. That's all I'm gonna say there. Right? But I wasn't let down at all. I was like, okay.
Okay, good. It's a great show. Phenomenal show. Expanse. If you guys like sci-fi, you would really like the show. So people tell me. You didn't listen to him for a couple years. Started watching it. Phenomenal. Witcher we talked about a little bit already. Don't bother. That's not worth your time. Unless you're super curious and have nothing else to watch, but that's not true. There's a lot of great shows out there. I cannot wait. As soon as I finish... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Question for you. Does this 3-episode arc end with a fight between the spoilers, but whatever. I don't care
if you
by this point.
Worry about spoilers of The Witcher, skip forward or just pause it right now.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you right now, you shouldn't care.
It's book spoilers, so does it end with a... fight out at a castle between the mages where some mages turn on the others and
dude that happens in the first episode of this new part and it ends in that episode too.
It ends that episode, so they go a little
pretty much pretty much things happen in that castle, that battle happens, something happens at the end, and I think maybe that it's partly of the second episode 2 of the part 2, but I think it pretty much ends at part 1.
Okay, interesting. Are they longer episodes? Still just 50 minutes
actually
or whatever?
I mean, we're not 15 minutes. Like 50 minutes? No, they're like 30, 45 minutes.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Bad. Yeah, not really.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. I can't wait to finish The Expanse so I can watch Foundation, because that's my next up on my list of things I need to watch because it looks cool. So we'll talk about that when I get to it. And Secret Invasion finished, and woof. That was not a great show.
Started off all right.
Started off all right, ended as like, yep, this is definitely a Marvel show.
I'm not 1 to 10.
Caring 1 to 10. Started off being like an 8, probably finished off at like a 6, 7.
Allie and I watched episode 1, maybe 2, because we struggled to like turn it back on, and we just turned it off.
There's great parts. There's great parts of it. The espionage stuff, but as soon as they start being like, we want Marvel. Don't forget this is a Marvel show. Superheroes. Have Samuel L. Jackson do the funny Nick Fury shit.
I had the ending spoiled for me with the big fight, so I don't care now to watch it because, I know it's fine.
Yeah.
Was it spoiled for you, or did you spoil it yourself?
No, it was spoiled on news because
it's a thumbnail for everything right now. Yeah,
it is. It's a thumbnail for everything, and people don't put spoilers on anything anymore. So
they give it about a couple days, and then you're done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's why I gotta watch Ahsoka as soon as I can when it comes out later on this month.
And a character you think is dead is not dead, and she was a big draw to the show in general, like that actress. So of course they're like,
you find out she's not dead like an episode after she dies.
Are you telling me that a character in a Marvel show who you thought was dead comes back? That is
There is a permanent death in the actual show, but still, it's so what.
But I saw that, and I've also heard that a lot of what's happened undermines a lot of other things that have happened previously in Marvel because of Skrulls being Skrulls, and which I'm totally fine with because like Secret Invasion was a cool story arc where they took over a lot of stuff, just in general, like people in Hydra, people.
They took over people's lives. They took like superheroes. They just replaced them.
But the difference is like in comics, you have such a long arc to tell that story versus a TV show to tell that story, and
like 6 episodes, 8 episodes, or something like that. Yeah,
I
not super long episodes. Yeah,
well.
Yeah. I think it was supposed to be a movie at one point. It should have been a movie. Just make it small.
Yeah,
not great. It's a bummer. That's okay. Yeah, waiting for Ahsoka.
You know what?
Ahsoka will be great.
You know,
I know it.
You know why I'm super excited about that?
What's that?
Is because Filoni said officially, "Hey, this is season 5."
Yeah.
Of
Rebels.
of Rebels.
This is season 5
So
Rebels. They just needed Ahsoka.
they're like,
But yeah.
yeah, we were gonna do it. We were
Fucking
gonna do
awesome.
it animated, but they decided to do an Ahsoka TV show, so we just did it live action instead, which is like that's fine.
Fucking A.
That show's actually great.
Show's amazing. Super ready for that show.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
Yeah.
Wait till that fucking podcast episode. I'm gonna talk for fucking 45 minutes about Ahsoka because they're giving me 2 episodes. But yeah, that's my
That'd
week.
be good.
Christian, what'd you do? What'd you do this week?
I beat both the games that I was playing. So I
Nice.
beat Dead Space Remake.
Okay.
So that
Final
one's
Fantasy
done.
14. He's done forever. He's never coming back to Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Yeah. So I beat Dead Space Remake. I did my plasma cutter only run.
Yeah.
Is that
Still-
like a is that an achievement or something, or is that something you just decided
Mm-hmm.
like I want to do?
No, it's an achievement. It's famously, it is one of the easiest achievements that I think the developers thought like originally like, oh, this will be hard, but they made the plasma cutter so
Great
good
gun.
that it becomes just
god
unbelievably
weapon.
simple. Oh, dude, it's so easy. Like I think I probably would have had a harder time with the game if I didn't do that run. Like it's super. But now, so the coolest thing is that so like New Game Plus has opened up, so I can go do that. But then they do a thing where there's like the intensity sensor that they have going on in this remake, which is it will tell if you're just having like too easy of a time, and then we'll switch up spawns and switch up where things are going to come from. So somebody like me who like remembers things like the back of their head, like I'll go into a room and I'll already be keyed on the vent that I know something's about to come out of, so I can be like, bro, I'm gonna smoke you before you even come out of this thing. And this will be like, who knows? Maybe it'll come behind you now. Maybe it'll come, and there. But it was so that's really cool. I'm excited to do that at some point and see the secret ending, because they added a separate ending now for this game. I will say having Isaac talk is a really good decision, because I was thinking about it, and there's like just back then having silent protagonists was a thing that just
So you
happened. Speaking of the game that we played this week, also has a semi-silent protagonist, and it was just a thing that happened back then. People were just like, "Fuck it, we don't know what we would want somebody to say in this situation, so we just won't, and that'll be it." And in Dead Space, it's particularly weird because there's plenty of times, especially, and you can tell during this remake, there's plenty of times where you would wonder what Isaac would want to be say. Like somebody would say something in the situation that Isaac is in, like 100%, and he just doesn't, and someone will just like finish the sentence for him, or somebody would interrupt and be like, don't answer that, Isaac. Oh, we'll talk about this instead, and they'll do this or do that or whatever. Like they would try to get around it in weird ways. But there was even sometimes where, like you would find certain things in the world, and Isaac, like somebody would be talking at Isaac, and he'd just be like, just blank stare, just like, and then somebody would be like, "Yeah, see, you get it," and you're like, I sure do, buddy. So going through the remake, when him having lines is like, it was weird because I'm so used to him not speaking, but it helps the game. I know for a fact that it reaching a new audience now, I'm sure that it makes it sell it all that more, because it's way easier now. There's a lot of story points that Isaac says something and you're like, that's exactly what you would say in this scenario. Like that makes sense. That's good. I'm trying to think. I like all the one thing that I will say. So the mechanical changes that they made was, so in Dead Space 1 original, when you're in the zero gravity parts, you used to have to aim to where you would want to go, and then Isaac will just kick off wherever he's at, and throw him, and then his boots would just adhere to wherever you stuck. So you used to have to sort of like ping pong yourself around to either get away from certain things or go to where you wanted to go or all this other stuff. In 2 and 3, they changed that by giving Isaac little like jet boosters
Pulsers,
that
yeah.
sit on his back, so you can just sort of float your way through. So they've just made that quality of life change, just put it in 1, and for the most part, it's fine. It doesn't change anything to the way you would normally do things, except in 1 as a little Easter egg, there's a basketball mini game, a zero gravity basketball mini game where you would have to, shoot the basket at certain hoops and stuff and do things. Now the problem is that in 1 you used to have to jump to the different parts of the court to shoot at whatever basket it was, right? Well, now, but they didn't change the game at all, but they gave me jet boosters that I can just float in the middle of, and so a basketball will come out, and I can just be floating there, grab it, shoot it, grab it, shoot it, grab it, shoot it, grab it, shoot it. To get the high score on that basketball mini game and get everything when I first played it probably took me, it was probably like a couple hours of just sitting there toiling away at this mini game and going for it. This time it took me 25 minutes. I literally I just sat in front of it and I was like, done, 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 done. See ya. And I walked right out, got all the rewards from it, and I was like, this is the easiest game of my life. It's super simple. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really wanted to talk about. No, I really like the work they did with it. I still hate EA, but they did a good job on remaking Dead Space 1. So, and then I finished Trails of Cold Steel 3.
Nice.
Just a quick 69-hour jaunt through that game.
Heyo.
And the ending was such a nasty cliffhanger that I told this to Alex. I literally looked at it and I went, nope. And I closed the game and I went right to Steam and I installed Trails of Cold Steel 4 and started playing it. So I'm in Act 1. It switches between games sometimes, whether they do chapters or acts. But this is Act 1 in Cold Steel 4. And I finally have at least a singular question resolved from the cliffhanger of 3. And I was like, okay, my brain can finally rest easy and I can look at other things now. But not much to say that I haven't already said, so I won't dive too deep into it. But some character deaths happened at the end of Cold Steel 3, which I was not prepared for. Characters that have been around for a long time. I was very upset at the people that got. I hope that in true anime fashion, they're able to come back some way, because I'm not prepared for them to be gone.
Just go
from
get some
this
Dragon
world.
Balls, you'll be fine.
Dude, that's when animes are at their best. Like, even when we were watching Attack on Titan, we'd watch episodes be like, or even My Hero be like, so and so better not. I'll be done watching the show. Like,
Yeah.
Will not take away my
Better not.
character.
Yeah.
Nope.
Attack on Titan. Well, Attack on Titan killed itself in other ways, but yeah, I was very upset. I love, so the one thing I will say about Trails of Cold Steel 3 that I don't know that I mentioned was the mechanical changes they made to it are my favorite so far. They finally nailed, I think they nailed the marriage between the old style orbment system and this new one, where they basically combined the best of both and then put them onto one thing. And this was their first game doing that. And you can tell because, boy, can you make some broken combos. I discovered with the main character, I was basically able to like a battery, just self recharge my super move by doing the super move, but then having it attack everybody in the area and then also apply all sorts of debuffs to them. But then he was so fast that if I used this Brave Order system to boost the speed of every character, I would get infinite turns. So the final boss that's supposed to be really fucking hard, I had 38 turns in a row. I didn't let the boss act, and I was like, you just get to die, and that's what happens. And normally, there's some people that I know that are like, oh, I hate when games are that. First of all, you have to experiment and find that, right, or you have to go. I'm sure like people have build guides for all those characters, but you can like, it's not something that comes like the game just goes like, hey, do this. Like you have to experiment and find your way. But then two, I think in a game in a series in which bosses, if you do not approach them correctly, can have 10 turns in a row and heal themselves and do all this other stuff. I am okay with breaking that system over my knee and be like, no, now you don't get to play the game.
There is nothing more frustrating too than in that, like any game like that, but it even happens in Cold Steel 1, I'm sorry, not Cold Steel 1, but
first chapter FC.
Yeah, first chapter.
Yeah.
How like you'll get bosses that you're just sitting there yelling at the screen going, let me go, like why just let me go, and like you think it's your turn,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden their thing like slides in, they're like boop, and they take another one, you're just like,
now
why?
in those moments you're supposed to be like, okay, I'm screwed now, but this means next time I'm gonna like I'll use moves that will apply delay and slow down and all this other stuff so I don't get caught like that again, right? Like it's a learning experience. But in this, I'm, fucking 100 games in now, and so I'm like, I know when, like, certain enemy types, I'm like, I know exactly what you're gonna do. I fought something like you before. I'm not gonna get got again, and so I will just immediately start just on 11. Like, I'm just like, nope, I'm not playing with you, and so I'll do it, and I will instantly delete people. I'm like, goodbye. I don't want to deal with it. It's so funny too because there's some bosses where like it's meant to be a hard fight. And so when I'll just like smoke it in like 4 turns, and then it'll cut to the cutscene afterwards, and everyone's like panting and tired, and they're like, "Oh my god, we're at the end of our rope here," and I'm like, "We're not. This is I'll
take care
walk
of
through
it."
this person." But yeah, trying to think. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into it because there's it'd be too much, and everything that I say would be a spoiler. But it's really good. I'm excited for 4. 4 is finally the point that I can tell where it is about to get the most bonkers it's ever been, because right in the prologue, at least so far, every protagonist from the last 7 games
shown up
is there.
Yeah.
It all is
The Avengers have
is
assembled.
converging, and I'm just like, oh my god! Like I'm just like, what is this gonna do?
Gotta
like
fight Thanos now.
Yeah. Well, more than you know, but yes.
purple?
Yeah. It is so cool. Like, this won't be a spoiler, 'cause Alex, you've at least played first chapter, but like, Estelle and Joshua show up, in the first parts and you're just like, man, it has been a minute since I have seen, and they're in their brand new like 3D HD model, because Cold Steel 4 came out. I was going to ask,
are they still the small like sprite?
No.
Okay.
So Cold Steel series was, the first 2 were on PS3, and you can tell, and then 3 and 4 were PS4. So they look, especially when you load up the PC versions, you don't even like, they are on par with like the Tales game that you played a couple of years ago. Like it looks great.
Which I like that. I like that kind of anime art style anyway. I think it looks good in these games.
So it looks great. And then Reverie, the most recent one, is like, it came out last year in Japan, and then obviously this year. So it looks
I've seen cutscenes of Reverie, or not cutscenes, but still images of Reverie, and it looks identical to what you were just talking about, the game that I played. So
yeah, it looks great. So
Tales of Arise,
yeah. So all that stuff is good, but just seeing them in their new updated models and doing these things, like, you're just like, oh man, like, it just takes me back to when I was, like, like, and takes me back. I was just playing that last year, but still,
a whole 6 months ago.
I know, but time-wise, there's been a lot of game that has happened since there. So, yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, Alex and I've been playing a lot of 14. Alex, I didn't get to tell you this story. This will be a fun thing. I had somebody try to coach me on how to play healer right before I got on.
Just so everybody knows, and this is this is not an exaggeration. I just don't have any physical way to prove this. Christian is the best healer on our server, and I don't just say that because like we play together or like his buddy with buddy. Like legitimately, I mean, I've done over 1,000 like dungeons and trials, and I've done high level and low level. Legitimately, he's the best healer on our server. So
Well,
it's
I
very
appreciate
rich.
that.
Yeah, it's very rich
and
see
the
somebody
person-
coach you on healing.
The person who did it doesn't have a healer, like doesn't play a healer, didn't have one unlocked, like on their character sheet thing.
Oh, and
So
they
I
wanted to
was
give
like-
you pointers, huh?
So the person goes,
Yeah.
so what happened was I used Cure 1, and like used it to heal something, and the guy goes, just as a heads up, Cure 2 is better. And I was like looking at the screen, and I was like, there's no way this person's being for real. And so then I like went to go examine the person, and it showed like they had no healers unlocked. It was just like DPS and tanks, and I was like,
How many do they have unlocked in general? Because I'm working on my 10th and 11th between my Black Mage Conjure 10 and 11.
I don't
and
know.
You have
Yeah.
a couple more than that. So like, how many
I
does this
looked at-
person have?
They at least, I know they had a lot of tank and DPS. All I looked at was the little quadrant that had healers, and they were all
Okay.
blank. And so I was like, okay, so you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So then I was like, heads up, I don't know if you know this, but in this game, the cures scale, so Cure 1 is totally fine. And I was like, by the way, you haven't fell below 75% this entire dungeon, so you'll be okay. Like, stop talking to me. But, yeah, we played that, and then played the book club game, and that's been it. Oh,
Wait,
you know what? I did start. Alexa and I started Res Dogs, the new season of Res Dogs.
Yeah, I need to start that. Played it tonight.
It's good. My only problem with it is that the first episode opens with what is probably like the biggest plot hole that I've seen in a really long time, where it would be super like a character should have just asked a singular question. And this whole season probably doesn't happen, but they just don't do it. And the guy just walks away and goes like, "I guess I'm fucked," and then just like doesn't do anything. And you're like, "Okay."
Now the
and
season
then
will be around
finds
that.
themselves in like a horrible, horrible situation. You're like, any moment you could stop and ask the one question that would save you, but I guess we're not doing that. But otherwise, it's still, White Jesus shows up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all still good.
my man.
That's it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we'll tell one quick story for Jake about Final Fantasy 14, since I also had a fun run-in this past week with a toxic player. And I know Jake likes...
Okay.
Yeah, I know
like, why would
Jake
Jake
likes
care about
angry
this?
gamer stories. So Christian and I often run together. When we run together, I run tank and he runs healer for 2 reasons. Because he is the best healer on the game.
I forgot about this story.
Yeah, he's the best healer on the game, and with me being tank, it's instant queues. Like, we never wait more than like 3 seconds. Just like, boom, let's hop in it, right? So I'm running tank, and there's this little dude who is playing like a ninja, and he's just like, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to start pulling before the tank gets over there to pull. I don't know why. And I let it go for like 2 or 3 times until I made a comment. I was like, I think this guy's like pulling stuff off of me, like just before I get over there. So we go into a boss room, and I just stand there and don't do anything.
And he
just
types in
like,
the chat, "Nah, take it, fam."
yeah, I did. It said, take it, fam. Like, go ahead. So I wait for a minute, and he doesn't die, but his friend dies. Which is not actually his friend, just the other DPS dies. And then I grab it, and, like, we beat the boss, no problem. We get to the next area. He still hasn't quit. So this time, I pull everything in the room except the one thing that he pulled. And as the 3 of us are fighting this mob, you see him running laps around the room trying to stay out of the way from this one thing that's chasing him. And it finally kills him. Because Christian also like wasn't healing him. And it kills him, and he stops and he loads in, he takes the time to type in the chat, to be honest, I don't think you're a very good tank, and I don't think we're gonna finish this dungeon, so I'm not wasting my time, and just leaves. And like instantly somebody spawns in and sees like this chat and was like, oh, apparently somebody wasn't having a good day, and like we beat the dungeon like instantly.
Yeah.
So it was just funny. It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really
Take
good
it.
moment. It was
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta let them know.
Right.
So, Anyway, with that, let's dive into our book club game.
Yeah.
And Christian, it is your
New
game,
one.
so I will
Yeah,
pass
yeah.
it over to you.
So, the game that we're playing is Metro 2033, the Redux version.
Not Rideau,
Um,
for anybody who thinks it's
Rideau?
French. It's not.
It's not.
Oh, yeah, the Redouin. A little background on this game for people who don't know. It's based on a novel. I don't remember who it's written by, but it's a very Russian name, or Eastern European at least.
That
I read
makes a
it,
lot
I
of
don't remember.
sense.
Yeah, it's based on a novel, though. It's based on a set of novels. So if you're familiar with those novels, I don't know how well it follows them at all. I assume at least halfway okay, because they made 3 of them.
That doesn't mean anything.
I don't know. Either way, I've never seen anybody get mad about it. So either it was a non-issue or book people didn't play it. Who knows? I don't know.
they made 3 Witcher games and they don't really tie into the books at all. So
Some of the characters are there.
sure, yeah, I mean, you got the characters, so
But you play as a silent man named Artyom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I will say right before we get the accents in this game really do it for me.
Yeah.
Because
Great
they
voice
are
acting, though. Like, they
Yeah.
actual, like,
Yeah,
good
it's very
actors
good.
who are doing these characters.
Yep. I agree.
it's not bad.
So the game opens up, and you are following a guy named Colonel Miller, and this is the tutorial basically. So or I should say really quick, we don't know exactly what happened. We just know that all of the surface world is completely irradiated from nuclear warfare. And so humanity has been forced to live underground, and they are fighting some nasty mutants called the Novalises. And you can see that people are basically just trying to survive. They love it if they could, the radiation would finally go away and they could go back up outside. But that is currently not the case. So if you do have to go outside and try to get supplies or do anything, you have to have a gas mask and a filter and the whole shebang. But for the most part, everybody lives like very, very deep underground in the metro tunnels, which is where it gets the name from. So, but you are following Colonel Miller, and you're going, through some of these tunnels and stuff, and then you find your way outside, and he tells you to, where you're trying to meet up with one of these platoons, and you're trying to head to this tower. You don't know why, but you're just trying to head to this giant tower that's shooting out of the sky. And so you put the get the gas mask on. You're doing the whole thing. I will say a little nice touch that I like for the intro is that you can notice that the sound changes the second your mask goes on. So everybody sounds a little bit more muffled.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it makes sense, right? Because the whole
you get a mask
thing
on,
is
yeah.
going over here. So I really like that. There's a lot of little nice touches like that. I like that in this game. Either way, so then you'll you go forward, and you are basically getting encircled by a bunch of these mutants, and there's at first when you're just fighting. So actually, first when you get out to the surface, there's like a little mall, and it's your first introduction to them. So there's like, jumping off some of these ledges or coming at you from these certain different angles or whatever, and that's like your first introduction to these enemies, right? So then you go outside. Very quickly, it gets very dark very quickly, and then you start getting like, a circle pit basically forming around you and of this car, and you're trying to get to there. And then they start sort of breaking off a formation and start charging at you and the people that you're with. So you start shooting at them, and then all of a sudden you hear somebody say, look out, there's the demons, and then there's these giant ones with fucking huge wings.
Like gargoyles.
Yep, and it comes and swoops down at you, and then it fades to black, and you see it say, I think it's like 6 days earlier or something like that.
8 days earlier. Is
eight
what it said.
days earlier. Thank you.
8 days earlier. Yep.
And that's the intro. That's the prologue. So I, especially with how you guys are about because I know there was everybody was a little worried about how kind of spooky it would be or whatever. So how are you guys feeling in the?
So I have some notes, and the very first note I have, I just shared 2 pictures in chat. It says, "Bill Murray?" ? So as soon as you run in,
sure.
As soon as you meet, like, you wake up, it says 8 days earlier, your dad pops in the room, and if you look at the chat for this channel, like, literally the character model is Bill Murray. To which point I wondered, did this company have a Ghostbusters game in the works before they changed to Metro and just reused, had the model and reused it?
I don't think the resemblance is that close. I don't think so.
It was right there. It was funny. So it's not as scary so far as I thought it was going to be. But again, like, I wonder how much of that is because the game does show its age when you play it. In my opinion, like, I felt the age there in a bunch of different places. And just because I say that, don't think I didn't like it or that it was a bad game, because that's not the case at all. But like, you could see it has a classic like Skyrim issue where when your dad and the other colonel, like, you meet in the room, it's still the tutorial area where he like just comes in from outside, like his buddy comes in from outside, he's like, let's go talk to my friend, right? And they're sitting down and they're talking, and like they're sitting with like one arm on their leg and the other hand under their chin, and they're both sitting the exact same way, and their left hand is clipping into their leg in the exact same way, and I'm like, yeah, well, you know, it
So
shows
this game
it
came out in 2010.
Yeah, which is totally fine. But there are times where you see it. The other note that I had, that is just, it's so random. So it takes place, as you said, like in the Russian metro, which is why it's called like Metro. It just takes place in the Russian subway. And the thing that I noticed is everything is so dirty. When you walk past a sink, there's like rust in the sink and stuff. And the only thing I could think is, if this was real life, you're all dead. In a survival situation, if somebody gets sick or one infection happens, like, you're all dead, because everything is disgusting down here, which is so random. But like, I think that stuff stands out more when you like put some polish on an older game, right? Like, it just happens. Like, you're used to the newer tech.
Your TV's not as blurry as it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. So when like you see the other stuff and you're a little older, you're just like, oh yeah, if somebody cuts their foot here, it gets like, you're all dead.
Oh, that's tetanus is going to be everywhere.
You're going to get tetanus. You're going to get dysentery. Like, everyone's gone. This whole place is wiped out. So beyond that,
I think people probably have a higher little immunity if you're down there living in the muck.
Maybe kill you makes you stronger.
It depends on how long you've been down there. Like, if you're the 7th or 8th generation, sure, but you're lucky you made it to that many generations. So there were some things I found interesting. So I didn't find the first opening bit scary at all, and I found it a bit intriguing. Like, it's a nuclear apocalypse, but we don't know like who set off the nukes, because in a lot of those, like, we set them off against each other, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we set nukes off against each other, it's weird that we would have these like alien-esque monsters. So now you're starting to think, and you don't know because it doesn't tell you, but you're assuming that these creatures are here. Either they're demons from hell and Hellgate's opened up somewhere, or they're aliens or something, and like we set off the nukes against them. So I found that first opening bit really intriguing with the tower and everything all over the place. But so I'm really interested in the story, but the only 2 things that don't give me pause but like kind of frustrate me are how many breaks there are between gameplay in these first 2 chapters. Like, you play for like 4 to 10 minutes, and then there's a break, whether it's like a cutscene or like you've made it to the next little like story part and they're writing on the screen, right?
Thing, yeah.
And there's so many in those first 2 chapters where I got to a point in the second where I was like, I just want to play, guys. Like, just let me go.
I want to shoot something.
Yeah, so that was my biggest frustration, and then really dumb AI. you're with a partner a lot, and man, if you go too far away from that guy, like it's just game over, right? You might as well like you have to run back and get him because otherwise he just stands and like looks around for a while. And I just haven't played a game like that in a while. Like Eco, probably the last one I played like that, and you're just like, please move. But the story I'm really intrigued by so far. I just think this first version, there are quite a few times where it did show its age to me.
So, and I think for the gameplay portion, you know, you're bumping into a lot of early survival horror games which is, and this game is a little less survival horrorly, more like action horror, I guess. But either way, the whole point was that because those gameplay sections are supposed to be extremely stressful, people want those breaks to be like, okay, I made it, like I did it, right? Like I got through those sections. What difficulties are everybody playing on?
I chose survival normal. So I went because also we didn't mention that there's like not only difficulties, but there's two different types of way to play in the game: the survival mode, and like the have fun mode, if you will, the arcade mode, and then I think there's like even one on top of that that's like super like realistic mode kind of deal, in quotes.
Yeah, because I think I've said this before. I typically play these in story mode just because they're not my primary game for the week. So I think survival normal was the basic mode you can choose.
Yeah, that was like the normal thorough line. Yeah. Not too easy.
It's not quite as easy as quote unquote story, but honestly, like it is kind of easy as story because there are times where I ran out of ammo and just like smacking things and they're dying.
Yeah, in other levels you'll get there, but yeah, it is. I was wondering because they do like a like the ammo scarcity, right? Because the whole point is that because the world is all irradiated and these mutants are here and there's all this other things, they like regular currency is gone because there's nothing to be gained from it, right?
So bar with things.
So what your main form of currency is
ammo,
like but high caliber or like unspoiled like bullet cartridges, right? Which I think is cool, especially when you get to. Did you guys in your playthrough? Did you find any of the pressure guns?
I only found some notes.
I didn't get any special guns.
I found two areas that were special areas. So like
not special. Pressure guns.
No, I know what you said.
Okay.
I found two special areas that I think held a secret of some sort that I was supposed to do something to. Like one was in the subway where like I'm walking with the guy and I turn off to the left and there's like some rodents running around and there's a fire and a guy on the ground, and I didn't spend enough time there to solve the puzzle. So I would assume there was some stuff in a couple areas like that I just didn't spend enough time to figure out.
So if you walk over to that guy and then move him up, one of the pressure guns will be there. There's also, and a lot of the enemies that we'll fight in the coming chapters that we'll talk about here in a little bit, but they also are just carrying some. So, but the reason I think those are cool is because I think it's a nice touch to the world, which is there's not a lot of bullets to go around, and so people have gone to make their own bullets, right? And that's what most of your guns will use. So the shotguns and the submachine guns will use these like new like handmade bullets people are making, and they're garbage. But they're supposed to be because they're not being made, right? So, and what's funny is that you can actually you can substitute your currency, which is the unspent like old world bullets. You can substitute, like you can load those bullets into your current guns, and they'll do like quadruple damage. But you're spending your money by shooting them, right? So it's like a trade-off thing. So it's kind of cool that they do. But the reason that I think the pressure stuff is cool is because those bullets are so bad, but there's sometimes where people just aren't in a situation where they can get bullets, right? So somebody basically just ended up making like lethal super soakers where it's just air pressure that you sit there and you hand crank and pump, and then you have basically like shrapnel that is loaded to the front of it, and then you shoot and it shoots out and it just does what shrapnel would do in that situation. But it's like, that's the thing, right? So, and one of those guns, it's cool, is like you can see as you're sitting there pumping it, you'll see the level sort of go, and then it'll be in the red, and the needle will be like freaking out, and it can only stay in that overpressured state for so long. So you'll sit there and run, and you'll be looking for something, and then just blow something away with it. And so I think that kind of stuff is cool.
It makes sense now when you say the like kind of the horror feel to it, because I had a note here about the controls, and I just didn't know if it was like a me thing and I didn't change the game settings. It feels very tanky, like you were slow to turn around. Right?
I put that the
Turn
forward
side to
movement
side,
itself felt fairly slow. Like I turned up sensitivity to look left and right a lot, but like just moving forward, it's not a fast pace.
So, and they show in the intro, it sort of shows a picture of your character, but you're supposed to be thinking that you are somebody who is covered in
Hazmat
gear,
uniform, yeah.
right? So you've got the full nuke suit, you've got thick padding and all, and the stuff. So like the way Miller looks to you, like he is sort of like a slim down, sort of like special forces kind of look to him. He is what are called like the hunters or whatever, and they even say like somebody says like they're crazy, like they're not normal people. That he is not, like he is the exception in that situation. But like most people look like what the guy looks like on the cover, which is just like a big burly, thing. So, but yeah. So to your point, Alex. So chapter 1 opens up, and you are sitting. You're meeting with Miller and your stepfather. It says eight days earlier, and he's talking about the place that you're in exhibition needs help, all these other things, and all of a sudden the alarms go off and a mutant attack happens. So in the room that you're in, they start busting through the vents, they're doing all these things, they're going through, and nobody could figure out why the mutants were being that ballsy. Like they were like, they never attacked the town like this, and somebody was like, it's probably the hospital. They can smell like the injured from the last like patrol that happened or whatever. But nobody could sort of figure it out. So they were like, you need to go and make your way to Polis, which is like the big main city, right? And you need to let them know that we need help. Like we need extra troops and we need things.
Can I quickly say that in hindsight, it's pretty brilliant for the writer to come up with like a survival aspect in the Russian metro, or a metro of any by that point, because like if you think about it, if you take a show like Silo and a book like Silo, whatever led to them being in the silo, they had years to prepare for it. Whatever happened here, if you don't have a long time, it would make sense that humanity would like go underground. And what do you have? Like a metro is a really nice touch, and I think they did a really good job at bringing it to life. And the guns, to your point, even not the pressure ones, like the shotgun, you have the barrel and it's just like a handmade wooden stock, and you can like, it cuts off. So it's not like, in your head, it's not a sleek, quote unquote, sexy. If you think guns are sexy, it's not. It's
all very MacGyvered together.
Yeah, and I think they did a really nice touch in that aspect of like bringing realism to this.
So
game.
I think that's something that I've always appreciated about this. That I think every ounce of this game, and I think it is for a better and for worse, is spent trying to sell you on the world and where it is at, right? So everything down from the clunkiness to the feeling, everything is like, this is how it is supposed to feel. Like this isn't an accident. Like we're doing it to show you what it's like here right now. And like you said, there's sometimes where like even just the sprinting and trying to jump across like certain things, you're just like, oh my God, dude, it feels like I'm 100 pounds. But he's like, you probably are. Like, and when you're, they call, there's a part where when you're leaving at first and you're heading towards Polis and you have the submachine gun, they call it the nickname for it is the bastard gun, and it's because they're like, the gun's a bastard. Like it doesn't shoot straight, it shoots all over the place and it overheats all the time. And then you look at it in the submachine gun, you're like, oh yeah, I'm sure this thing is like barely, it's like duct tape and bubble gum. Like it's barely here together, right? So and then it even sells it with the pressure guns, right? Like you are basically just making a gun that just shoots compressed air and shrapnel out of it, right? So, but yeah, so you leave there and you find somebody who's willing to start heading in that direction with you, and you hop on the trolley, and it's your first taste, I think, of where the spookiness is supposed to come from, right? So you're on this trolley and it's moving and the people around you are freaking out. You're like, hey guys, everybody around you is like, hey guys, this is going to be a real nice and easy trip. Don't worry about it. We're going to go right through.
Famous last
and
words.
You get about halfway down, and as you're getting out of there, somebody goes, hey, there was a collapse or something happened, but you can't go through the main tunnel anymore. You got to use the service tunnel.
Oh, good.
And the guy goes, oh, fuck. And then you go, like, they're like, well, what's the problem with service tunnel? He's like, I had to take it last month. It's not that big of a deal. I just really hated it, right? And so you get, and all of a sudden now is when you start to see some of the supernatural stuff, which this is the part that hooked me originally when I played it before, which is you start to see some of the supernatural stuff of, you see images like little or whatever of people running next to you or doing certain things, and someone goes, and it's one of the first times where it's not something that you are only seeing as the character, everybody's seeing it, right? So somebody goes, what the fuck is that? And they're like, look, just don't even pay attention to it, just keep going, and then you'll be like, someone's like, I heard that if you're in this tunnel long enough, like, you'll start to hear people scream, right? Like, you can hear them.
Don't even think I paid attention to that. So a couple of those character, like, things running by were fake?
Yeah, they're ghosts. Yeah, that's why there was no detail to them whatsoever. Like, yeah, they were just completely see-through and then running. Yeah,
I don't even think I paid attention to that part. It wasn't until they started, which you're getting to now, where when you are in there too long and stuff starts happening, and like two guys just like
pass out,
just straight up, just pop, gone.
And you're starting to go too, and all of them, like, and you're basically, you start to get swarmed, right? And you start to feel like it's the first as like overwhelmed, right? Like you're just like, because your guns are slow to reload, they're slow to shoot, and you only have the pistol, so you're sitting there and you're just like,
I ran out of ammo.
Like, yeah,
I did too.
Exactly.
I ran out of ammo as well.
Yep. And so you're trying to keep it going, right? And you're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. And then finally, you get smacked up and all this other stuff. You go through the hallucinate, and then they wake up, or everybody wakes up. You get knocked off, and they just keep going. They're like, yeah, they don't even think about stopping. They're like, we have to keep going, right? Mm-hmm. And so you, as the kid, you hide in this little crevice thing, and all the mutants sort of blow by you, and it's there that you finally. You reach Riga, which is the town that you were heading towards that's on your way to Polis, right? But you start seeing the barricade they have set up there, and they are like mowing them down with one of like the little turrets they have. And you hear somebody go, oh my God, he's still there. Like, stop, shoot, like, let him through. And so you run through, and then you defend yourself from all those people, and everyone's like, you lucky son of a bitch, blah, blah. And then it cuts to immediately as you're into the next level, right? And I will say, I said earlier, and I didn't really explain it, why our team's sort of a semi-silent protagonist, is because in each one of these transitions to the next, whatever the next level is, right, whether it's in the same chapter or not, our team is giving a monologue of what's happening, right? So you're basically reading his journal thoughts, because he keeps a journal and writes things down and does things like that. So you're getting him, basically reading those to you to either talk about what just happened or introduce where you're about to go, right? And sometimes both. But what I think is funny is that you get, it cuts to immediately of, because you guys survived, right? And you're immediately in a bar, and everybody's like, let's get drunk and then talk about the hero Artyom, who he did it. Like, he survived the mutants, he came back, and we killed them all, and yeah. And it's this whole thing. Again, I think it's adding more flavor to the world, right? Like, you're going through, and you can see that people are just, well, there's some people there that are just like, I am just drinking 24/7 because I live in hell. And there's other people, like the people that you're with, that are like, every single time that we go and make it to a different city, it is a cause worth celebrating, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like every single time it's a good thing that it happened. So yeah, that's like 3-ish missions in between that I was talking about there. So yeah, and where are you guys at there?
Feeling good. So, like, you mentioned the first kind of level that you kind of start off, not the prologue, but like the actual first chapter.
Yeah.
Immediately stopped off and like just like absorbed the room that you're in, like, because like the attention to detail of like all the pictures he has up on the wall, and like if you notice the books, they're actually the Metro 2033 books are actually sitting there like on the desk. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think there's like a Metro 2043 at some point. I saw a book for, and
Did you guys interact with his guitar?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can string the guitar.
Yeah, yep. So
And there's another
and you
guitar
do that
later
with
on
other
in the
music.
game.
Yep.
And then a piano you can mess with at the bar.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just a lot of things you can interact with and enjoy. It just but a lot of detail and love was put into that. And like not to mention like the textures in there are always like really nice. I mean, you can definitely tell it's kind of like the copy paste kind of textures, but they were detailed enough to where like you don't notice it too badly. But like when you're talking about how rusty it looks, like it looks like you mentioned, like it looks like you're gonna get an infection just by rubbing against that shit. So like
Yep.
they do a really
It's
good
dirty.
job about
dirty
building
world.
that world. Yeah, it's very cool, very good looking. And that whole tunnel scene, like you guys are like, oh, that was that place you can divert to the left on there. I'm like, no, I'm not diverting. I'm too scared. It's too spoopy. I'm not going to be left behind. I'm not going to be the idiot who goes off on my own little path over here. I'm going to stick with this guy who went that forward way. I'm like, I'm not dying today, so we're good.
Yeah.
I was like that at first, but in the first couple encounters, I got smacked up by a couple of the creatures because I was having trouble moving and shooting, and I ran out of ammo and realized that, like, oh, they're not doing that much damage on this mode. I'll be fine. So once I realized, like, I'll be fine, here coming up, when we partner up with somebody, we start going to other areas, I started to explore a little bit more because I wasn't as worried about,
Sure,
like,
it's kinda-
getting smacked up. When you get to Riga, I really, again, to Preston's point there, like, it feels very lived in. There's a lot of detail. There's one room where it looks like they're having court, and there's guys under stairs, like, in a cage, and then people up top talking, and it felt very lived in and very real.
Super.
Yep.
It is a maze. Every area.
People are
is
talking
a
near you. Like there's different
maze.
conversations that get triggered when you pass by groups of people, and it's just it's done very well as far as like
Everybody's having conversation.
everyone's having
like,
conversation.
The ambient dialogue. This is just my opinion. I think the ambient dialogue. I understand what they're doing, which is they're trying to sell that it's a lived-in world, especially with game design back then. But man, the ambient dialogue for me is almost too much
It's
at
a little
times.
overwhelming. You
where
just
I'm
gotta keep
like-
walking.
Yeah, where
There's
I'm
only-
just like, I'm not meant to listen to it all, but especially the JRPG
Your mindset
person
now.
in me is like, I'm like, I want to hear everything, and there's so many conversations, like I want to look at people in the room, like, hey, shut up, I'm listening to this person, like, stop talking so I can
Yeah,
listen to this
someone else
person, then I'll
talking
come
in the
over and
background.
listen to you afterwards, even though none of the conversations have anything to do with me, right? Like, they're just talking amongst themselves, but yeah.
So before we lead into this next part that you're talking about, because you're going to take us on here and what we played, but I love here in a moment you're going to speak to a child, and it's the second time we've run into a child in this game. The other time is in the actual tunnel where there's a kid with two like adults as soon as you leave the first town on the little trolley.
Yeah.
And the children have a very large head for their teeny tiny little body and are 100% voiced by a 47-year-old.
Oh yeah,
They look
yeah.
like they're the
Yeah.
age of 6.
they not hire
But they,
children.
they
to voice
talk. They
children.
talk like they've been smoking for years. They're just like,
Well, no,
it's
I think it doesn't sound like that to me. It sounds like an adult doing a child impression. Like it's like 'cause
it's
their
not-
voices
yeah.
are high pitched. Like they're like, hey, it's like, hey, Mister, like, and you're like,
yeah,
oh,
it's not
Jesus.
like the voices of the Rugrats to where it's adults doing children's. Like no, it's somebody trying to impersonate a child in the story
Yeah.
they're telling.
but have a deeper voice and are older. Like it doesn't translate as well.
I
saw
don't
it,
know
was
that they have.
It's fine. They don't have enough
I was
kids
like,
to
I
make me care.
Yeah, it was funny.
Oh, and I will ask this: what are you guys playing in just English across the board?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know if there was an option for something else.
I'm sure you can
There's-
put in
you can
Russian.
choose to have English subtitles, but with the Russian audio. I have heard from many people. I am not playing. I have a fondness for how funny the English sounds, but I have heard that there are people who genuinely really love the other side of the dialogue. So if it's something that you wanted to check out, you totally could.
There might be. I might do that before we meet next time because it might be fun just to experience that in Russian. I don't personally find Russian to be the prettiest language to listen to in general. It is what it is.
It's not a romance language.
but-
yeah.
But I do think there's something to be said for like games that are made and localized for those audiences, voiced by those
Yeah.
languages, because you just know they put a little bit more into it, right? Same way with like why we watch things in dub versus sub, like they just put more into it. So it might be worth
Like God
checking out.
intended. Yep.
Like God intended.
But yeah, so like you said, so like we were saying, we meet up with those people, and then we peace out from them because they're under the assumption that that's where the journey ends and that we're done with But we know, we just haven't told anybody, but our team knows. Now I have to make it to Polis. I don't have time to be, sitting here partying with you guys. So you leave, and
we were told, just you didn't say this, but we were told by Miller earlier when we started our journey. He basically pulled us to the side when our dad was there. He's like, "Look, I know your dad's. He's got his plans and he thinks stuff needs to happen one way, but like this is on you, man. Like you gotta fix this and figure it out." So
and he hands you his dog tag and he goes, "You need to tell them that I'm the one sending you, and they'll know by this dog tag. So if you need to go give it to them and tell them that I'm the one sending you and that this is, a thing."
We're on a one-man mission. Nobody's stopping us right now.
Yeah. And so you leave and you end up running into a man named Bourbon, or as the people they go Boybin, is how they keep saying it, which I think is really funny. But you go there and there's a kid who tells you that he'll lead you to where you need to go, but he just wants one bullet, right? So you can choose to give him a bullet or say, fuck off, kid, and then...
I told him to fuck off.
Did you?
Yeah. No, I'm like, fuck you. This game
What
can be that
happens if you
big.
say no?
I'll find him.
So I'm not gonna... He does talk shit on you.
Cheapskate, that kind of shit, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that I'll say, though, is that so when you make that decision... or not make that decision, the screen sort of flashes, right? It makes this little kind of like tiny little sound effect. It's barely noticeable. That is the same thing as the telltale thing of
you've made a decision in the world. The
game will remember that. Yeah. Whatever that means.
The kid will remember you did this.
Not just the kid, but no. So it's not specific to the character. It is just saying the game has taken notice of
your character,
and that is what you need to know. I'm not going to say anything else, but it's pretty funny. So so there's that. You find Bourbon. There's if you sort of circle back after Bourbon, there's a point where I don't know if either of you saw this. It is so funny with the character models in this game, though. If you circle back because Bourbon tells hey, you got 5 minutes basically, so you go do whatever you need to do, but then meet me by this exit, and we'll take off. And so as you're circling back around, a particular woman of the night is yelling, catcalling at you from somewhere, and you can either decide to go hang out with her, or you can just walk right on by.
Bummer. I didn't notice.
What? You did not know? Okay, so just as a heads up for everybody, did you do it, Alex?
No, because he was like, "You have 5 minutes, or we can go," and I was like, "Yeah, let's go now."
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay,
I chose
cool.
that option.
Yeah. So the reason I hit no is because there was still a note that I hadn't found, so I wanted to run back to the bar and get the note. But that's when I got catcalled, and I remembered from the first playthrough that I did back in, it was probably 2010, 2011. I was like, something happens here that I remember being like, I just remember it was like a negative, this is a trick. Like the game is trying to goat somebody into doing this. And what happens is that the woman say, it'd just be one bullet, and you come and you can hang out with me, and you're like,
yeah, you will.
And so if people pay for it, I had to look this up because I had already.
I heard it too, Preston. I just let it go.
Sure, he'll come.
What?
He'll come.
Oh, sure, yeah, whatever. So anyway, so I had to look it up. But when you go, she takes you back to this back room, and she's like, "Okay, now I'm gonna put a blindfold on you," and then you get beat up, and all of your money gets stolen.
Oh,
yep.
Glad I didn't do that.
And then some dude pulls your thing up, and you're like, they just start clowning on you. They're like, "What a fucking idiot!" Like,
can't believe,
dude, she robs everybody. Yeah. Like, she's known for robbing people. What are you doing? Like, and you're like, just basically to shame whoever chooses that option. So you're
fucking
like,
horn dog over
I feel
here.
bad. No, I got no money. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so you can leave right there. You go through that exit, and then you are into the Lost Tunnels is where you're at. So you're right with Bourbon, and you're heading down, and your goal is try to get to the market. And so you're trying to make it there so that you can then use that as a jumping off point to then hit your direction to where you need to start going through to get to Polis. So as you're going through the the tunnels, is when this is actually a funny. This is another part of the game that I like, which is Bourbon calls out. It's not just mutants that we have to worry about. There's bandits. Then there's the fucking communists, and then there's the Nazis.
He says there's the Nazis, and there's the bandits, the Nazis, and the Reds. And I go, well, looks like not much has changed even in the apocalypse. So what do you know?
Still here, and so but it's the moment where it's like, you're not even safe. Like not even nuclear annihilation has made it so that people band together, right? Like small communities are banding together. But it's still a go fuck yourself, it's only for me thing, and that's where you're at. So you are going through, and you're first met into these sort of sections where the guy goes, "Hey, just try to get through this quietly, so that we can get closer to the little main patrol, and we can go through." Now, question is, how did you guys fix? I know Preston hates stealth. So how did you guys fare in this section? Preston, did you just go in like a cowboy and just go like everybody's getting one?
For the most part, yeah. I just kind of went and around. Like, let's see how this fares, and if we need to, we can do it. I did a little bit of stealth later on because it gets a little spoopy for me, but yeah, no, I just went in. Let's see this works.
What happened with you, Alex?
I walked, so he's take out the patrol, and there's two patrols, one on the right to your left, and then you can walk forward and go down the back path. I went forward, went down the back path, immediately just stabbed this dude in the head and took him out. And I was crawling, I was sneaking forward, and I saw I think the one they were originally telling me to get, the person walking, and I go, so I can try and go back over to him, but I also see these 3 dudes around a campfire, and I can totally dome this first one. And so after I went in quiet on the first guy, I did just headshot the first dude and then guns a-blazing, which, because these old games, you
might be
we've played in, we grew up with, it was fine. I was behind a pillar and I popped out and the guy pops out to shoot me and I go, bam, shoot him. And then I pop back to reload and pop back out, bam. I was just picking people off.
I was thinking about stealthing. So I'm going around the boxes area, but they hear me immediately. I'm like, okay, well, fuck it, we're just gonna do this, and then it ended up just turning out just fine for me.
Sure, yeah. So and now I will say there's no sections in the game where you won't have to. You can go through however you feel like playing. I got through most of that section with stealth, but then I had forgot that I did not buy a silencer at the place. Yeah. And so I had the pistol out, and I thought I had put a silencer on it, so I walked up to one dude, and I was like, he's getting a little too close, and I was like, all right, he's going to have to go down. So I go to shoot him, and it's like, boom, and lets it off, and then everybody stands up, and they see it, and they're like, he was a good man, because this is something with the AI that is that they will all comment on the people that you kill. They'll be like, that was my friend. This is a good person. They'll have little canned lines for things or whatever. But then that got everybody else up, and Bert was like, "All right, I guess we're doing it." So then everybody, we start fighting them.
That's another nice touch in this game. I forget if it happens later or if it happened earlier, but a gun goes off in that subway, and everything goes silent for 2 seconds. To be it's so loud in here
in that tunnel,
and just echo it hurt your ears, and I forget when that happens, but I was like, that's a nice touch. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm.
So basically through that set, that's what you're doing. You're working your way through bandits and mutants, and you're going through.
Can I say here, this is the first time I died in this game. Past this section, when you're going through the tunnels, right, as you're working your way through bandits and mutants. I got to that part I was just telling you about earlier, where there's a left-hand path with a guy behind a cage and a fire going, and there's some creatures running around. I'm having a hard time shooting the little creatures, so because I don't have my sensitivity turned up too high, so I was backing up because they're running. They're following a path. They're coming out of a hole in the ground, running along the floor of the wall. They're jumping in another hole, and they're coming back and forth. So I'm by that area, and I'm walking backwards. and something grabs me and kills me.
Oh,
And
sure.
it's, and it's like, hey, you're dead. And I'm like, okay, I have no idea what killed me. I'm not going back to find out. And it wasn't like a little monster, because the little monsters that we're killing right now are like rats, right?
Yeah.
So I did not F around to find out what killed me, but something large and supernatural just murked me. And that was the first time I died in this game.
Yeah. So, so right after that, you get to the bridge section. Now, this is the first radioactive section that you're at, right? Where there's Bourbon's like, hey, you can't breathe here. We gotta put on our mask. So you're on your mask, and then Mutant City turns on, and he's basically like, we have to we have to get out of here. And so you're running and you're dodging through these trains, and you're running across this bridge, essentially to go through. And the entire time, you're getting followed by mutants, and you can hear them roaring and screaming the entire time, and you can always hear them scampering around somewhere in some of the little tighter rooms. And once again, I think this is a very nice touch throughout the zone, and it's my favorite part about it is it really nails the survival aspect of there's all these different things you have to manage, right? And you're thinking about all these different things. You're looking at your ammo, you're making sure you have enough bullets, you're making sure you have the right gun equipped, you're doing these things. You have to manage the time on your air filter, right, for your gas mask, and make sure that's all going well. You can hear, and then all in the background, you're hearing the radioactive ticker go on to let you know, like, hey, you're still in the radioactive zone, right? And then the monsters are chasing you this entire time. They're doing all this, and it's the moment where you're just like, this is the constant, like, okay, this is all of the things I have to manage at one time, right? Like this, I have to constantly be looking at all these things. Now, obviously, that's the genre, right? It works for some people, other people it does not. I think it does help sell, though, regardless of whether you end up enjoying it or not. It does sell the world that they find themselves in, right? Where every single time you go outside, it's just a bad time. Like, if you're not inside your city, it's a bad time. Like, you are bound to get caught up in one way or the other. So really quick before I go to the next, I'll skip to the next book. So right, it ends right with, as soon as you get done with the mutants, Bourbon calls out to you and tells you to stop moving for a second and to chill out, because he's like I think he says that it's the Nazis, but they were coming through the Nazi faction, and they were looking for bandits to kill, and so he wants you to crouch down next to him and hide. So, quick question, and that's why I'll stop for there. So, what were your feelings on that whole section? And then end it with, did you get spotted and get shot at for a while, or did you listen and hide with Bourbon when he said to? So where you guys at?
So so this was the part where I first started to feel like, or I first started to get annoyed with the AI, because as stuff was coming on story mode, I might kill it and I would run on, and I would be miles ahead of my AI, and I would hear like, oh god, more coming, and you're like, boom, boom, and screeches like, oh, F and A. So I'd have to like run all the way back and engage, because if you don't engage, you don't progress. So I'd have to run all the way back and engage before I could progress. I did take off my gas mask at one point just to see what would happen, and he just goes,
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't know how long it does it, because I never got, again, I'm playing on story, but I never got like use the med pack thing. So I found this section interesting. It was fine. Again, a lot of these fights and stuff are fine. It's just like, just the way that it's set up, like I'm running forward and he's not always with me. And man, if he's not with you, like you're going to be doing a lot of backtracking, because he will trigger stuff. You don't trigger it. Like he triggers it, which means like I have to go back to get it. When it came to the Nazi piece, definitely got spotted, definitely got shot at. Just FYI. Yeah.
So I will say, before you do your answer, Preston, for that is another. Now, this game does not tell you, and it is not clear from the beginning, what moments are the game will remember that moments. Getting spotted and getting shot at is absolutely, because you'll notice the little sort of fade in. That is one of those. The game will remember that moments.
All right.
Yeah.
So this one was a little bit
for two.
Fair. This was a little bit of a quicker level for me, so I got through it pretty quickly. As quick as you can, obviously, like Alex mentioned. I didn't get too far ahead of him. I kind of stuck with my dude. Like I said, I'm being very scared about everything. So I'm like, nope, we're going to hang out together. I'm going to walk slowly to this motherfucker right here. We're going to tag team this. And yeah, got through it just fine. Did not get shot at by the Nazis. So
Preston is also 1 for 2. 1 for 2 and 1 for 2. There we go.
So I hunkered down and did not fuck around.
Yeah. So I will say, Alec, even though you're playing on the story thing, I will say you would probably be better, just in the future, you'll probably be better served instead of just, unless a character specifically says explore and go look for something, which is something that's going to happen here in a little bit, just stay with them. You'll have a better time. Even though you'll end up, because on that mode you'll end up smoking through enemies really quickly, it'll still be just for the play, like, because like all of the events are tagged to where your person is supposed to be, unless you're by yourself, right? In which case, just go nuts. But
right.
When you have an AI, every single time you have a partner, events in the game are keyed off on their position or on time. So, for instance, like in the section we're about to talk about, there's a hidden time limit where the person's like, I'm gonna come find you at this moment, one or the other. So if you're ready early, come to the bar. If otherwise, like, you know, I'll be seeing you. And you like just have to keep a mental note. But that when they say like a time limit, it is ticking down, and that even in that moment, right, the AI is still technically the event trigger. So. But yeah, so after the bridge section, I remembered that section. I remembered the shooting part, and it's really easy to not get shot when you're staying with him. And so it was one of those moments. Yeah. So as soon as he was like, "Get down," I was like, "Oh right," and I immediately crouched down because I remember they start, because they will. What's funny, and Alex, you'll know since you got shot at, they don't stop shooting for a long time.
No,
like
they did not.
And Bourbon actually scolds you afterwards. He goes, "Why would you not listen to me? Like, I asked you to not go out there. Why would you show your face to them? Like, they're Nazis." Like, it's really funny. But yeah, so then you get to what the game is calling the Lost Catacombs, but then also they call them the Catacombs. It's just nothing but just dead people and radiation stuff just everywhere. Gross. So it's just nasty. Yeah. Goop and ooze everywhere, and then your radiation ticker's going crazy, and it's your first, I'll say, like real touch into the psychological aspect of this game, which is what I really like, or the supernatural aspect, and a little bit of psychological too, that I really like. So as you're going through this section, and your Bourbon is trying to get this door open, he starts like hallucinating, and he's like talking to somebody and talking about getting this door open, but it's like in a music part, and he's also like, you know, oh, I'm gonna, you know, I'll take care of you, don't worry about it, like all this other stuff, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then all of a sudden your vision turns and you're in this tunnel, right? And your character starts immediately floating backwards, and you have an option as you start to look around, which is, I can either run straight forward into the light, which is where Bourbon is at, or I can run completely backwards towards the red blackness, and I guess see what happens that way.
Or you have a third option,
just die.
Not realize that you can move in the situation.
Same.
You continually watch these cutscenes happen until you float so far back and you die. Because I did that. Yeah, good. I'm not alone in that. I never touched the controller.
So do something. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't realize. Like, I was like, oh, this is just a flashback.
And also, if you're trying to go forward, like, it's a slow movement to begin with, and you're getting pulled back, so you can barely even notice the movement at first. And you're like, okay, that's a death thing. I'm like, okay, well, let's start walking forward then. I'm like, okay, it changed a little bit.
Yeah. So the reason that they do that is there's a moment
I started walking forward too late. It killed me, like, on my way there.
Yeah, so you can actually sprint in that too. You can press the sprint thing and you'll move a little bit faster.
I never moved. I just eventually made my way so far back that it was all red and I died.
Yeah, so what's funny in that situation is...
it's another one the game remembers. You're fucked. Haha.
No. But what's funny in that situation is that it tries to... because this is still, and I will always admire when games do this, regardless of whether it works out or not. But they don't tell; they try to show, right? Like don't tell me what to do. Just show, like, have the game show me. Like I should learn. So there's a moment where you can tell that he's getting floating backwards because his arms go out and he started reaching forward, and that is the signpost where the game is trying to say, like, clearly your character wants to go forward. And so you're supposed to be thinking, okay, I'll try to go forward. And then you'll move and you go, oh, I can move. And then you do it, right? But I much prefer that even when it doesn't work, right? Because there is that first one, I've played this game and I forgot. And I just started floating backwards. And I didn't remember until his arms went forward. And I was like, oh, fuck, right. I'm supposed to run at the door. But, like, I even forgot. But I still, even when it doesn't work, I still prefer that to the modern, like, Naughty Dog is a huge criminal of this, in my opinion, where they're just like, God rays everywhere, and anything you can touch is big, bright, and splattered with yellow paint. And so you're like, okay, cool, I know where to go then. I don't have to even waste time figuring it out or guessing or anything. Like, God himself is shining the light on this yellow paint, telling me that this is where I'm supposed to go. I much prefer, even like I said, even when it doesn't work, I much prefer being...
I didn't mind dying to that part. I just felt like an idiot. I was like, when it happened, I was like, oh, okay. And then the second time I ran, I was like, oh, there you go. That's right.
But I do love, so then this is one of your first introductions to the next, what people have called the next step in the mutant evolution, which they're calling Homo novus. Its weird, creepy alien hand reaches at you because you're trying to pull yourself through the door. And what's funny is that you don't really... But Bourbon is going through the same... not the same, but a hallucination with you as well. And he's having a hard time even making his way get through the goddamn door. And so you're sitting there doing this thing, and he grabs your hand and yanks you forward and pulls you through the door. And then you end up coming out of it, and you pull Bourbon through the door. And he immediately looks at you and goes, what the fuck just happened? And then you're like, brother, me too. I don't know, right? And then you're finally able to, once you cross through that threshold, you are finally able to, you're back in breathable air again. You can take off the gas mask. And then you are, going through the rest of the tunnels, to which... Then you are finally at the market, and the market is the next sort of major city that you get to, and you are now finally able to spend a lot of your hard-earned bullets on tons of upgrades. Even Bourbon hands you a little bit and goes, "Hey, dude, get us some more air filters because we're going to need them, right?"
Options.
And this is one. Yeah, and this is one of those moments where Bourbon is like, hey, I'm going to go try to look for some people that I know. And also, what's funny is you are in a situation in which Bourbon clearly owes some people in this city money. Because when you run up, he's like, when the people first discover you, he immediately goes, shit. Like, I did not want to run into anybody. And they're like, oh, Bourbon, you son of a bitch. Like, you finally decided to show. And he's like, hey, man, look, I'm here to pay. And they're like, I bet you fucking are here to pay, you piece of shit. Like, and they start, getting after him. And they rough him up a little bit and all this other stuff. And then they're finally like, dude, okay, everybody chill out. Like, because if we beat the shit out of him too much, he won't be able to pay, whatever. And you're first getting let into the city. And it's funny, the first guards are like, do not move. Like... And if you move, they will pull the gun and start like aiming, and you'd be like, "What did I just say to you? Like, do you not hear any of that stuff?" But then you're finally let into the city, like I said, and then Bourbon tells you, "Hey, we need some stuff. I'm gonna go look for some old hookups to see if I can't find us a way out of here." While I'm doing that, go supply up, and this is to date, this is the biggest city that you're in, right? And it is clearly like what Artyom said is in when he load in, right? He even says in part of his journal where he's like, this is the first time that I walked into somewhere and I felt like anything that I needed I could find, like, in this market.
It's a hub.
And it's true. You see shops for everything. There's people selling meat, there's people selling drink, like, they all sorts of stuff. guns and bullets and clothes and it's everywhere, right? And so once you get done in the market, you also, I will say, did you guys buy any guns, and did you see the shooting mini game there?
I did. So there was 2 mini games for shooting stuff, or at least like the training, because like you go to the place where you get like the SMG, you get that one, and then there's another one.
In the very beginning of the game.
It's where you're not wasting your ammo, which is nice. You're kind of just like shooting around. I thought there would be an achievement if I got all the bottles and all the destructible things. So I'm hitting everything. I'm hitting the bear.
Preston, we are right here, man. We the same.
I'm like,
same.
I bet if I shoot everything on here that has some type of interaction, like I bet you I get an achievement. No achievement. Yeah, so that's fine. Whatever. It'd been cool if there was, but it's fine. In this day and age,
the second one there is though.
Achievements. Was that?
The second one there is though. If you complete the second one and you do all 9 challenges, you will get something.
Okay, so I didn't see any challenges. I'm just thinking of like the actual like firing range or whatever, like near like the shop.
Yeah, so the fire range in this one. So if you look down, so normally if you go, but if you look down, there's a thing that will say challenge 1 through 9.
Oh, I didn't know.
And you press the button.
Nope.
And then it will cycle through all of those challenges, and you can go through. I made it to 5 or 6 before I was like,
I would have spent all
this.
day there if I noticed that, but I didn't notice any button or anything. I was just shooting what was in front of me.
Yeah. Well,
I did not do it, nor would I have spent the time to do all of them either. Yeah.
It is not the only one of its kind, so
Also, like,
you'll be fine.
Alex, most of us are playing this like we're trying to do all this, like the chunk that we're playing for the video game book club. If you're like me, I'm trying to play it all in one sitting, and once you're getting close to that like second, third hour mark, you're like, we're gonna finish this tonight. We're gonna finish this tonight.
Oh, so I did it this morning. morning.
I'm not gonna stay at this firing range. Like, to be fair, I did sit there and get all the things. So like that is one thing I did spend time on. But yeah, it's
I woke up this morning and was like, well, gotta do that before we record tonight.
Sure.
So.
You can always push it back if you need to. It's not a big deal. But no, I stocked up on my shotgun bullets. I think I upgraded my pistol, and then I bought one other item. So I think there's like pipe bombs or something like that. I bought a couple of those. I've never used any of them, but what I did buy was some throwing knives. And I tell you what, I'm going to be buying a whole lot more of those, because we'll talk about that in the next level, the final level of tonight's Video Game Book Club. But I love that I bought plenty of those. Those are worth the purchase. They're mountain gold.
All of the throwables in this game are absolutely worth it. When every city I will recommend, stock up until you are full. They are worth their weight. They are worth every bullet you have to spend on them. They're fantastic. But yeah, so Alex, where were you? This is the last stop off. How did you feel about the market, that whole section?
I mean, the same thing applies, right? Like, there's as goofy as the models can be sometimes doing similar shit. Like, they've done a really good job of making everything feel lived in, which I appreciate. I will say,
repeat it. Yeah.
No, not repeat it. I do want to take a real quick step back though to when we see that creature, right? The next step in the evolution.
The Homonovus, yeah.
The Homonovus. That was the first time where I had this thought, where I go, okay, so in the beginning we're introduced to this tower that's like shooting stuff up, and there's aliens or monsters or mutants all over, and then we have this, which is clearly like something is calling out to people, right? And I had this feeling, and I don't know where it's going to end. I've looked up nothing about this game, but it felt very Edge of Tomorrow-y to me, right? Okay. Where Edge of Tomorrow, you have that like one alien that's like controlling the others and does the whole time thing. Anyway, so I'm interested to see where this goes, but I saw that and I go, okay, interesting. There's some telepathy. He's kind of saving us, so I don't know like how that's going to play into the story. But also that big tower is like, so I wonder if there's going to be that one central brain that's controlling all these others. So we'll see. Anyway,
the hive mind kind of deal. Yeah.
For me, I will say, to build up, so the vibe I always get from the first time playing it was that, especially that scene in the tunnels. It reminds me, it's like very heavily into X-Files for me.
Yeah.
Like
to be fair, you would have been playing this as a younger kid. After X-Files, Edge of Tomorrow would not have been a thing back then, and like I'm like
sure.
I'm just saying
also,
that's
where younger kid. I was living on my own. It was 2011.
Oh yeah, you were. Ago. You said 2010. You're right. It wasn't as long ago, but still, like if I hadn't seen Edge of Tomorrow, right? If I played this back then, I probably would have a similar feeling. because I was.
We are
playing it.
also not that different in age. I love
didn't
this
mean-
idea.
That's not what I was saying. I'm just saying you played this game when it came
You're
out,
like-
and I'm playing
you're
this
like,
game now.
A little
That's
baby
not-
child playing this game.
That's not what I was saying here. You took it there. But no, I see that, right? Like, it's just because I've seen that movie recently in my age, first playing this, that's where my brain went versus something
Sure.
else. But yeah, the city, fine. I stocked up. My biggest friend right now, up to this point, has been the shotgun.
Yeah.
So I have.
It's a
like,
good one.
I don't love the pistol. It's slow. I don't care about it. The SMG is decent for crowd control, but like there's just it doesn't seem to do a lot of damage. But the shotgun has a nice mix of
I will
everything
say-
so far. So
So you can carry up to 3 guns. Here's what I'll tell you. The game does not punish you at all for taking a gun out, spending bullets on, like, trying to upgrade it, do its thing, taking it out on a mission, and then the next time you get to a city, going, fuck this, I hate it, and selling it back to them, and then buying a gun that you do like. So do not feel as though you will be punished at all for it.
try new stuff.
For trying new stuff. And so if
Okay.
you see a gun that you think looks cool and you're like, oh, check that out, buy it immediately. You can go to the firing range, test it out, whatever. And if you don't like it, turn around, sell it right back, and buy something you do like. So it's
Okay.
it
Cool.
wants you,
That's
and
good to
especially a lot of the guns that you find out and about. Because all what I should say is all the humans drop their guns. Like every single one of them drops their guns, right? And so it wants you to experiment and try things out and do things. So absolutely, like use all 3 slots for sure.
Yeah, that's good. to know.
But yeah, so this is the first 2-parter section in the game where it's called the Dead City. So it's just called Dead City 1 and 2, and that will lead us to where we stop. So this is the final section where we get through. So Bourbon lets you know, like, hey, unfortunately, like we're gonna have to cross the surface for a little bit here, and you know, if you think things are bad down in the metro, the surface is way worse. Like, it is still nuclear winter 24/7, and the mutants are extra mutanty up here, and so they got the extra juice, as it were, and so you know we're gonna have to go deal with them. So you go out there, and immediately you are in what would be the entrance to that subway terminal, right? So you go through the turnstiles, you get up there, and Bourbon is like, yeah, hey, go look around, like see if you can find some stuff that we can use. So what I'll ask here is, did you guys find the secret safe, and or did you get slapped up by any of the traps that people were so kind to leave around in this area? You're muted, Alex.
I did not find the secret safe. I found 2 safes up until this point, and I could not open either one of them. So I am quickly learning I don't care about these stupid safes.
So the more exploring you do, so you will find sometimes they'll be on the wall, sometimes people's bodies will have them on them, whatever. But there's a little red key ring that has a key hanging from it. Those are always safe keys. So if you see them, make your way to them, and then sometimes you'll have them for a couple levels before you run into the safe that it can be used on. But their keys are not safe specific, right? So you can have a key and then miss you can save it till the very end, and it will still unlock whatever safe that you bump into, right? So
Okay. Yeah.
they're not exclusive to anything, but the little red key rings are the keys that you're looking for.
I must have missed it in like the bandit area because I checked every body and I found a safe
Yeah.
that like I could not open. So it must have been on like a wall or a shelf or something.
Yeah,
stupid,
it's
so.
usually in a wall or a shelf. That's usually
Yeah.
where it's at. But yeah, so did you find any of the traps or anything that people left behind?
I was hit by some traps, but I
didn't hit any. Yeah.
The game tries to teach you early on. They say, "Oh, almost hit that tripwire," and you go, "You know what to do here, right?" And I go, "Yeah, I'll come down here and cut it." But from that moment on, I have not looked down once. So
Yeah.
I think I actually did hit like one tripwire one, but I didn't go far enough for it to actually like get hit by anything. Like I hit the tripwire one, I forget what happened. Like either something flew by or some gun shot off.
Yeah, it's a piece of
Piece of wood, yeah, and it just happened in front of me. I'm like, oh, well, glad I didn't walk too fast. So
Yeah,
keep
because
an eye out a
you'll
little bit
see
more.
it's like nails and spikes and all this stuff sitting
Yeah.
on
So
front
now
of
I've
it.
been
And
jumping
that
over
is-
them. Yeah.
Yep. So that was my thing is I totally forgot that you can kneel down and cut it.
Did not know
and
that.
So I was jumping over them.
Okay.
Until I saw it was the one in the doorway where I was like, no, I'm just gonna hit my head, like I'm gonna fall on it. I know that's what's gonna happen. And I was like, I think I can cut these, and then I bent down. And I was like, oh right, yeah, I can.
So you know that.
Yep. So well, there you go. From now you know you can cut them.
Sure.
But yeah, so there's those. Sometimes they'll put like pipe bombs attached to them, which is super fun because those ones you find out in the open world, and those are really fun because you'll just be walking, and because of the snow and everything, it's hard to see, and so you'll just be walking, and then an explosion will go off, and your screen will get all red, and you're like, "Thank you, video game. Thank you. I appreciate it." But yeah, so as you're going, you go outside, and Bourbon he jumps across the car, and he's like, "All right, come jump, and I'll catch you." And you go to do it, and obviously your car starts to dip forward and falls off the side. So you miss, you fall right into the irradiated water. You hear the guy kind of just start going off, like ticking like crazy, and you're just covered in the stuff. And he's like, "Well, look, like follow this way and go around, but just stay out of the water, or else you're gonna die. Like it's so bad. Please don't do that again." Basically, and so now you're completely on your own. And so this is now in a section, Alex, where you don't have to worry about the AI partner triggering anything, because this is just you can go as fast or as slow as you want. But boy, do they turn they turn the amount of enemies here up like crazy. And he also says, look out for he goes, people call them demons. He goes, but I call them bitches, which is like the most 2010 writing if I've ever heard it. But so it's funny, and he does not break that at all. So like further on in the level, after this section, when you finally meet back up with them, and you hear them coming through, he's like, "Oh, it's the fucking bitches again," and you're just like, "Here we go."
His name is Bourbon.
Like, gee,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure.
huh?
His name is Bourbon, so yeah, sure, makes sense.
Yeah. Right. No, so you're by yourself, and you're going through and you're exploring, and I think as you're navigating through the area, there's the building that you can explore, and what I think is very interesting, and it's something sort of telling, is the game is very clearly letting you know. And Alex, what you were saying with the Home and O's thing is that they're sitting there, and it's still very unclear if they're hostile or not. Like something is where you're like, something's happening here. I don't know what it is, but something is going on, right? And there's these moments where the mutants are hostile, but you'll notice that when you go into certain areas, they're all sort of standing and facing a certain direction, and they're kind of just existing, right? Like they only are hostile the second you show up with a guns drawn, then they howl, right? And then you'll shoot, and then all of a sudden now it's game time and everybody starts swarming you, right? But it is kind of, it does continue to.
Did you try and stealth any of those areas?
Yeah, you can sneak through.
And they will not attack?
If they see you, they will.
Yeah.
But it's because but you can make it through silently without anybody seeing you, and just sort of go.
Which, if you got those throwing knives, they are one-hit kills, and it makes you super sneaky because you can throw a knife at one of those dudes, kill him in front of one of the dudes, no effect.
Yeah,
He just watches one die. He's like, "Yeah, it's fine." Normal day.
So that's kind of what I'm getting. Is that if you notice, I think is that the game it is constantly trying to sell itself in the world that it's creating, whatever, right? And so it's even in those moments, like what you're talking about, Preston, is like you're very unclear about what's going. Like when you kill one and nothing happens, you're like, okay. But then as soon as they see you, it's game on. Everybody will swarm you nonstop until they're all dead, right? So they're kind of like in standby mode until they see you, and then once they see you, it's game on. but so you'll make it through that section, and then as you are walking out, this is another psychological hallucination thing where you walk out into this park, and then boom, you are taken, you're transported immediately back, and all of a sudden, this game that is filled with browns and grays and all these sort of muted colors, it's boom, here's green and blue skies and the sunshine, and everybody, all these kids are wearing colorful clothes, and all the color sort of comes right back into the game, right? And you're walking through, and it's just kids playing in this little park, and they're doing this thing, and you're sort of just slowly walking through it. And as you get towards the end of it, it all just sort of poof goes away, and it's back to being, you know, the world that you're in. You continue to sort of do some fun first-person platforming off the sides of some of these buildings and getting through this area. And then when you make your way down into you make your way down into this sort of tunnel to walk across this little sort of like wooden bridge across all these things, and who do you find? He's scavenging through some things, but our old pal Bourbon. And I love that immediately when you walk up behind him, he turns around with his gun pointed at you, and he's like, "Oh Jesus, man! Like, you got to say something." It's like, I can't talk. There's nothing I can do about this. I will constantly be silent as the night. But yeah, so then you meet with Bourbon, and as soon as you come out on the other side of the area that he's working in, you notice that you're sort of trapped inside this fenced-in area, and it is game time. Mutants are there, you're fighting, and then that's when Bourbon, like I was saying earlier, yells like, "Oh God, here come the bitches!" And there's 3 of these fucking flying things, and they take a lot to take down. It might be different in your game out, but like even just on normal, they take quite a few bullets to take down, and so you're basically working with him to sort of push part of the fence over, and then he's like, "Just run! Like we need to get the fuck out of here, right?" And so you leave through there, and you get a boost up into this sort of wall to start crawling in through, and as you get through that section, you take your mask out, you're back through, and Bourbon's like, you find this room. And he's like, "All right, I can't fit through with my pack, so I'm going to leave it up here. I'm going to get through and, make sure we're good to go, and then we can go through." And so he makes his way through the vent, and he's like, "Hey, easy peasy, right?" And then he stops, and he puts his hands up, and you can see him sort of surrendering. Lights swarm in on him. Bandits swarm him, beat his ass, and start taking him away. And they're like, "Hey, there's no way that this is all he had on him, so go see if you can look for any more of his stuff." So our team very quickly grabs his AK-47 that he promised you, obviously is a thing, and he grabs his pack and pulls it closer to him. They're like, "Nope, the only thing up there is rats. There's nothing up there." And they're like, "All right, well, fuck it, come on." So they leave, and boom, that is the beginning of Chapter 3. So that's where we stop. So how did you guys feel about the Dead City section?
It was good.
Yeah, go ahead, Preston. Go ahead.
It was good. I did get a little turnaround at one point. You had one of those bitches flying around, and they kind of picked me up a couple times and kind of threw me around a little bit. I'm like, I kind of know where I'm going, kind of don't know where I'm going. I ended up making my way through just fine. Making my way downtown.
You guys are aware of the clipboard, like the journal system, right? Where if you pull the journal up, it has the arrow, it tells you where to go.
No,
okay, cool. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good. I liked it. A good change of pace from being inside the tunnels the whole entire time and kind of experiencing more outside of that. There was a fuck you Christian moment, because this is a spoopy game. But I go down this alleyway and I see a dead body next to a dumpster. I'm like, that guy's definitely going to have something on his body. So I walk up there, I grab it, and I guess if you are lingering there too much, you probably see something happening. But I start walking away immediately, and one of those fucking rat monsters, just comes over the top of you and scares the fuck out of me and does a jump scare. I'm like, "God damn it, Christian!" And I, exclaimed and did my thing. But yeah, that was the only super scary jumpy thing that happened to me. Otherwise, it's not full of jump scares. But they definitely put that one in there to fuck with you, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you I'm not looking forward to playing the other games. Like the game that came out a couple of years ago, like I'm not.
It's gonna look
because
real
again,
good.
like the only thing I'm telling you, the only thing that keeps me from going like, hey, this is too scary, is that it's dated. That's it. If it was new and modern, I'm gonna be like, I don't know.
I don't know. So I've never played them, so I don't know for sure. I have it on good authority from a lot of the reviews and stuff that I've seen, though. They, as the games go on, they tend to get away from the horror aspect, and it's more of just the survival aspect. Like, it is just the ammo is scarce and thing, but it's not. There's not the
filters.
There's not a lot of the horror stuff.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see.
But also, you'll be fine.
Also, cool thing we didn't mention, but the little watch you got has that little blue kind of thing. I'm assuming that's to detect radiation as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice detail. He also wears that watch on the bottom, right? So you like, look up.
Yeah, because every time you're putting
very
your gun up, you
tactical.
kinda see
Very
it.
tactical. Yep.
Yeah, they do a lot of things in this game so far well.
Yeah.
The city was fine. I liked being outside. I like the even in the beginning of the game, like just that apocalyptic winter sort of like wind always blowing and stuff like that. I thought was cool. Like Preston, I got caught a couple times. You get picked up and slammed down and so on. But yeah, I'm interested. I'm less interested to deal with the bandits. I'm less interested to deal with the Nazis. I'm more interested to figure out what's going on with Homo Novus and the other mutant / alien / creatures or whatever they are. Like, I think they set up a really good mystery, and they drop you in the very beginning in a cool environment. Like, this is here you're just like snow, right? Like, it's snow and it's radiation. But in the beginning, that like post 8 days is like purple skies and like kind of like tall like brush and just like wind blowing super hard. So like, and clearly you're in the heart of something, and I'm excited to get there.
Yep. I think they do a really good job of you in that leading into that moment. They do a nice teaser of you're like, okay, how did we get there? Like, how does what happened on the way that makes it so that that's what I'm dealing with, like a full on horde and all of this other stuff. Like, I really want to know what happens there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good. I'm excited to keep going. I like that it's not too long of a game because I am scary. Just like I'm waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting for the scary shoe to drop. I really am. So yeah, it's good.
Much better than the Force Unleashed 2. I'll go with that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about? I think this game even graphically looks better than the Force Unleashed 2.
Outside the cutscenes, yes, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. So cool. But yeah, I'm excited to dive back into it, which we will be doing for our next episode as we continue part 2 of this book club. What
levels we got?
3 parts, maybe 4. We'll see what it goes. Yeah.
So we'll see. It depends on how long it takes us to get through this next section. But let me pull it up there for those of you following at home. So obviously, like I said, we made it through the prologue, and then we made it through chapter 1 and chapter 2. So we're at chapter 3. So this next session, we are only going to be doing chapter 3 and chapter 4. So we will be stopping right when we get to Polis. So Polis is the section at the beginning of chapter 5. That's where we'll stop. So everything in between there, so all of chapter 3 and chapter 4 is where we're going to get through. I do think it's nice, too, at the beginning of these sections, right, like when Artyom is giving his little monologues, you can actually see right at the top, like, it still tells you what chapter you're in.
Yeah.
So you can always know, because sometimes I do think it's funny where the chapter names will change.
They're the subway stops.
Sometimes, yeah. So sometimes it'll still say like, oh, hey, you're still in exhibition, but then like it's technically a different mission according to the game, and so it's helpful that they still have the thing so that little marker up there for the chapter, so you at least know like, okay, I know I'm still in chapter 2 regardless, or whatever.
It'll be interesting to see the length of 3 and 4 because prologue was nothing, right? 5 minutes, and then like the first chapter was
chapter 1 is super close. Yeah, 2 is a little bit bigger.
Chapter 2 is significantly different.
So that's what we'll see. So like I said, potentially we might be doing 4 parts here, but depending on how these sections go, we might be able to knock it out in 3. But we'll see. So but yeah, chapter 5 Polis is where we will stop for the next time. Cool. And yeah, nice. That's Metro 2333 so far.
2033
Good start.
Redux intro. Awesome. Well, with that, Preston, I'll see if you have anything extra. Otherwise, I'm going to hop here soon and say bye to everybody so I can take this little puppy OUT so she doesn't pee on my floor.
Yep, I gotta get food as well before I get hangry and kill somebody. So, twitch.tv, Wednesdays and Sundays, Sunday mornings with the coffees and the whatever breakfast beverage you want or food. Just come hang out with me while I play some Snap. I got 2 Spotlight caches. That'll be by the time it's out already. About so far, I've been getting 2 Spotlight caches. So we'll see what I get next time. Hopefully Thanos. Crossing fingers for Thanos. And then Wednesdays we'll be doing the Jedi thing. So yeah, twitch.tv/testingroompod.
And if you don't catch it live, you can go catch the VODs at youtube.com/@thetestingroom. Bam.
There you go. All right. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for hanging out with us for another episode of The Testing Room and our 3rd installment, right? Of our fourth installment of this.
Diablo,
you mean
Sonic, Limbo, Force Unleashed. This is actually the 5th installment.
Inside.
This is
Yeah.
5.
It is the 5th,
All right.
yeah.
5th installment of our gaming book club. Hopefully you're playing along with us. But anyway, I hope you're having fun listening to us talk about some of these games. We're having fun playing them for the most part. And with that, Preston, you know what to do.
Hit it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If watching is more your thing, check out youtube.com/thetestingroom or Twitch TV/testingroompod. To leave comments and ask questions, follow us on Instagram @testingroompod and email us at testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.